Okay. Ready? So, yeah, let's get to the main screen already. Good evening, everyone. Also, Riddle. Yeah. After one day of having to deal with an insomnia spell, I'm finally back drawing, so yeah, let's get the main screen already. Alright. Actually, I haven't really done a reaction in a good while, so I'm probably gonna do it after I eat, so which should be in a few minutes. So yeah, I'm just gonna get started on a drawing. Then after I inevitably have to BRB, I'll go ahead and do a video reaction to something. Oh, a character I adopted a while ago. I'm redrawing them as a tar. Tried using a base to design their tar form, but I wasn't really a fan of the design, so yeah, I'm just redrawing it by hand. Yeah. Oh, hey, Golden Mops. What's up? Thanks. I'm gonna. Eh. Okay, I think I gotta get it. Huh. Oh, hey, Sonic Chow Gamer. Is it just me or the cards inside getting every day? Well, welcome to the stream. It's a bit more lively than you've been using at the moment it usually, but it's almost my dinner's almost ready, so I'm trying to see how much I get done before I inevitably have to go eat. I mean, I'll be back as soon as it's done, but yeah, it's why I'm not really playing anything at the moment. Yeah, ready. Let's just hope so, especially after the fiasco Crafton put the devs through. Very rare for a company needs to become a wall cow, but here we are. Actually, Ellie will be right back. Gotta check up on stuff. I'll be back in a minute. Coming! Oh, I think the mic was still on. Oh, that's interesting. Just set back down to. Alright, yeah, sorry, I'm gonna go BRB. Well, yeah, I'm off the mic. I swear, I appreciate OBS having the easy toggles for monitoring on and off, but it's right under the mute button, so it makes it very easy for me to just misclick the whole thing. Also, hi, I'm back. Probably should have started with that. Alright, well, since I've already eaten, let's actually get to that reaction, shall we? Rob's Media made a video on Xander Hall recently. Figured it'd be pretty fun to watch, so yeah, let's yeah, I should probably on that camera a bit. There we go. Now I'm a little bit less intrusive. Emphasis on a little bit. Alrighty. Yeah, let's go ahead and give this a watch.
Man, the streams are dead, bro. Chat is so dead, man. Literally every hate video on me is just, like, people collectively calling for me to go homeless and, like, saying, Zan can't last much longer. Zan can't last much longer. He's going homeless. Soon,
I mean, you're not
soon,
helping your
any
case,
day
dude.
now. So, if you want to make my haters maul, then y'all know what to do.
I think that if you continue down this path, you're...
Oh, yeah, Xander Hall apparently didn't use banks for a good while. Apparently just relied on keeping his life savings in PayPal, of all things. PayPal. Dude, I'm a freaking artist, and even I know not to put my money in PayPal.
Going to find yourself completely alone, because this isn't fair.
If things don't change within the next, well, by the end of the year, I will be calling it quits on YouTube, because there's only so long that I can grind, like, day and night for pennies from YouTube, and
it was also a Steam wallet, apparently.
On this channel, I've covered a lot of leftist
I seriously don't know how the fuck that dude manages his money.
And it's not even because of their political stances, but more so because of how they use it to justify their insane actions and statements. I mean, I've seen these guys use it to justify pedophilia before. But today, we're gonna be covering one of the stupider members of BreadTube, a humble streamer by the name of Xander Hall. And while he's not as bad as some of the other content creators I've discussed on this channel, his long string of controversies make for one of the funniest downfalls in streamer history. And the more I've delved into his history, the more I've wanted to make a full video on him.
To say the
From his
least.
long string of bad debates, to his disastrous breakup with his meth-addicted girlfriend, the humiliating beef he stirred of Shoe on Head, all the bridges he burned throughout 2024, and his continued financial decline, this is the legacy of Xander Hall, one of BreadTube's most thick-headed creators. In 2017, an 18-year-old Alexander Haley would begin uploading gaming content to YouTube, going by the name Pig Puncher. It's a very cringe name that he'd soon change, as someone with his physique couldn't punch anybody, let alone a cop. He would primarily upload videos about 2B2T, Minecraft's longest running anarchy server, known for the excessive amount of edgy content spammed into its
he's at the thing.
Though with Alex, it seems like his bread and butter was looking at the crazy shit people would build on it.
The very first place we have here to look at is this giant golden dick statue, and I gotta say, it was built quite well. They went full
Ah,
3D
that is
and
probably the
everything.
tamest thing I've ever seen on
So you got
2B2T.
some nut spewing out. It's even hollow in the middle. Oh man. Oh, you can even go down the urethra into the balls.
Though, going into 2020, he'd eventually change his name from Pig Puncher to Xanderhall, which is a shortened version of his first and last name. He'd begin posting political content, documenting his passage into left-wing ideologies. His most popular videos are about how he escaped the alt-right pipeline, something that's apparently happened to many breadtubers, though these people were never usually far-right, and at most enjoyed anti-SJW content and found edgy humor to be funny. In Xanderhall's case, he watched videos by center-left creators like Chris Raygun and Shoeonhead, while also being provocative for attention like most pimple-faced teenagers.
I was fully entrenched into the alt-right. I spammed Pepe emotes and did the OK hand signal to trigger the libs.
Oh, come on, dude. That's it. I was on freaking Tumblr during my anti-SJW days. At least there we had shit like our air conditioner's sexist to react to. Oh, also Gamergate, but everyone was doing Gamergate. Oh, hey, little Nixie.
And I was no stranger to the occasional anti-Semitic joke. I thought that all the transgender people thought that there was 12 million genders, and you better believe I bought Jordan Peterson's books.
You'd think his radicalization came from all the Nazi shit posted to the 2B2T server, but instead it was videos mocking crazy feminists, which a lot of left-leaning YouTubers made back in 2016. Xanderhall claims he was a victim of the alt-right pipeline, slowly getting exposed to more and more radical right-wing content due to the videos he was recommended. The blame is placed on a lot of the anti-SJW content creators, as if people like Xanderhall don't have free will, cause by 2017, he'd start falling down the leftist breadtube pipeline, switching to the complete opposite side of the political spectrum. He began going down this path because he watched the debate Destiny did with the YouTuber JonTron, where they discuss immigration and
That's like my escape from my weirdest anti-SJW days was just me realizing everything's just marketing. No matter who you are, you're always getting screwed over by capitalism. Everything is a grift. Your politics are completely pointless and a waste of time.
crime statistics.
I came into that debate almost completely expecting this Destiny guy to be a leftist cuck, who would just argue with his feelings while JonTron would be laying out statistics and proving his innocence to anyone red-pilled enough to see it. I was wrong, and when that long debate was over, my mind was significantly changed. I realized that the alt-right were ridiculous. They were—
Yeah, kind of hard to believe nowadays, but Destiny was actually once known for being good at debates. Of course, nowadays we all know him as a sex pest. And a pedophile. Also a grifter, but that's also kind of a given.
were always arguing from their feelings and claiming that they were the ones using facts and logic. In reality, it was the left who actually had facts and reality on their side. It was enough to get me to watch more of his debates. I saw him debate No Bullshit, Lawrence Southern, Sargon of Akkad, Dick Masterson, and many of their fans.
Xander
Oh, spoiler, by the way. Anyone can say they use facts and logic. Doesn't mean it's true. To quote, philosopher I probably just stole this quote from, that I can't remember who it was. A wise man never has to say he's wise. And to be perfectly blunt, I'm a complete dumbass, so... Don't know what that says about me. Right.
Hall would then begin watching more left-leaning content creators, as Destiny is a bit too much of a liberal for him.
I found more channels such as Sean and Jen, ContraPoints, Dusty Smith, H Bomber Guy, Claudia Brown, and many more. Don't get me wrong, there are very few popular left-leaning political channels than right-leaning anti-SJW ones, but they were enough for me. By then, I'd already started my YouTube channel and reached 1,000 subscribers, and I decided I wanted to be like those YouTubers, not like a copy of them or anything, but I wanted to be the person who could save other young people from falling down this rabbit hole like I had.
He began identifying himself as a breadtuber, making loads of videos criticizing so-called anti-woke YouTubers, which earned him hundreds of thousands of views. Though this was only possible due to refurbishing his political ideation. During some of his early live streams, he'd identify himself as a full-on anarchist.
What type of socialist are you? The market kind, because I think it's an achievable goal within our lifetimes. But at the end of the day, I'm an anarchist.
The thing is, I'm against states too. I'm an anarchist. I'm a libertarian socialist, okay? I'm not in favor of the state, okay?
I don't like borders, and I don't like immigration laws. Personally, I'm an anarchist. I would prefer borders were abolished, and that people were able to move freely around the world.
But this label is something that could drive normies away, so he instead described himself as a sock dem, or a social democrat. This was in response to backlash he got for claiming the US should have stayed in Afghanistan, doubling down after the disastrous withdrawal from the country.
One of the big reasons why I started saying I was identified as a sock dem was following my cancellation for the Afghanistan thing. That was one of the things that made me start saying I'm a sock dem. I still like socialism. I still like the idea of socialism and think it's cool, but I don't want to associate with the types of people that think there's going to be a revolution tomorrow and that, like, the fucking Democrats are pedophiles who are eating babies and shit. You know, like, I think a lot of, like, populist lefties also play too much with conspiracy for my liking. Like, Shoonhead. I know I keep bringing her up, but Shoonhead really fucking, like, dips too much into conspiracy theories. She unironically thinks George Bush did 9/11, and I think she actually believes, like, I think she actually kind of believed in Pizzagate or something. No, I don't know about that, actually. But I know she thinks that, like...
Yeah, I would have thought that the Republicans masterminded literally every last one of those conspiracies. Yeah, I'm still mystified by the politically incorrect board just being a psyop from Jeffrey Epstein. Yes, really, but that was actually a thing. I wish I made that up.
Hillary Clinton was, like,
raping kids with Epstein or whatever. I think she actually believes that Hillary Clinton had Epstein killed.
His transition into Xander Hall would lead him to collabing with a multitude of other leftist creators, first being featured on Destiny's stream, though his most profitable connection would be Vosh, an ex-orbiter of Destiny known for its crazy debate tactics, and it appears that many of these tactics rubbed off on Xander Hall to his overall detriment. Xander Hall is best described as a midwit, someone with average or slightly below average intelligence, who believes they're the smartest person ever, and he's definitely aware of his intelligence level, as he infamously took an IQ test in early 2021, struggling with it as he constantly hits his weed pen.
So what isn't on here could be the question. But every
there's your
option
frickin' problem,
is
dude.
what's already on there. There's no unique option. Maybe these two fuse together? That could be interesting. So would it be... But that's impossible, because there's none that's a box with a dot in it. This one has me truly stumped. Oh god, that's not good. That's not a good IQ right there. That's a slightly below average IQ right there. That's about what I expected.
Xander Hall then spends the next 20 minutes coping about his below average IQ, bringing up various excuses and banning people in his chat.
To be fair, I will say this. It has been shown that when you're not hungry, you perform better on tests, and I have not eaten today, and I am starving right now.
And you're doing weed,
Who sent me
dude.
that test? I'm permabanning them. Does anyone remember who sent me the test? So I can permaban them? Because now I feel shit about myself.
And then he watches the Adam Ruins Everything episode on IQ, going with the angle that those tests are pseudoscience. But he clearly only has this take because his score is so low, bringing it up to satiate his level of embarrassment.
That is true. It would be hard, because it would, if you don't...
Okay, yeah, they are
God.
scams, but...
That's the thing, though, but this was a simple, like...
Dude, you're
Was
taking
that
drugs
English?
during a freaking
I'd be concerned
test.
for Xander Hall's well-being, but at least his
Sheesh,
IQ was
dude.
better than Sneeko's. You know, he may be retarded, but at least he's slightly less retarded than the red pill.
Common sense is a fallacy, no.
My favorite part of this stream is that he ends up calling his mom, since she spent years gaslighting him on this very subject.
You suck at this, babe? Listen, guys, I'm gonna be honest with you. When I took an IQ test when I was in, like, 4th grade, my mom refused to tell me the answer. She told me it's because my score was really high and I'd like make fun of people for having a lower score than me. I think it was probably because my fucking score was low, okay? I'm yelling at my mom right now. Hold on.
Most likely, yes.
You lied to me when I was a kid. My IQ is below average. What the fuck? Listen, I took an IQ test on stream, and I got a 97. That is my IQ.
Who's smoking pot?
I've smoked weed 3 times, and I don't like it.
You see what it did to your brain? You see, Mitch McConnell was right. Sure, listen to him. He turned into a turtle. What drugs do to you?
You
You don't get a
realize
neck anymore.
you've realized I've smoked weed like 6 times, haven't done it in like 4 months because I hate it and throw up every time.
Yet, he continues smoking copious amounts of weed after this, infamously puking on stream during a subathon.
Basically just nodding their head as if you're
You
a
could
child,
quit
and
anytime. Jesus fucking
following
Christ.
along with what they're saying,
Yeah.
but not actually internalizing
that
that.
for a lot of people. What? Did Xanderhill just die?
I think he's throwing
Is
up.
Xanderhill died? No!
Okay, guys,
No,
guys.
no,
Shut up. Wait, everyone stop. Calm yourself, calm.
Oh, fuck. Christ.
Hi, Lonnie.
I'm okay.
Despite both him and his mom knowing how bad weed is for him, he still does it quite often, once tweeting out,
"The act of smoking weed and being high is the most unpleasant feeling I've ever felt. Weed tastes like sweaty asshole, and I vomit hard enough to pressure wash the paint off the wall 2/3 of the times that I get high. And yeah, I still do it when I'm bored."
Yet, despite his low intelligence and chronic weed addiction, Xander Hall has taken it upon himself to debate a multitude of other creators. In fact, he even did a tier list ranking them all. Obviously, I'm not going to review each and every one, but I want to highlight 3 of the stupidest. The The first debate is regarding the YouTuber PewDiePie, who Xanderhall has criticized numerous times on his channel. His stance is that Felix isn't a political extremist himself, but instead encourages racism by not taking a hard enough stance against it. A PewDiePie fan challenged him on this, pointing out how Felix has changed over the past few years since the bridge incident. He vocally spoke out against anti-Indian sentiment during his T-Series beef, and even donated money to Black Lives Matter. But Xanderhall's main quarrel is that Felix wasn't virtue signaling hard enough.
I mean, I know he's like donated to, was like the ADL or something?
Yeah, but it wasn't just donating, he made a statement.
I mean, did he even make like a video, like saying, I am against the people in this community, I want them gone?
No, of course not. But,
Yeah, the ADL, who infamously not condemn
I mean, that's where the most people
Elon
hear it.
Musk for
Listen,
his
Felix, I know you don't like
Nazi
Nazis,
salute.
but I'm just not feeling that energy. You need to repeat the phrase, I hate fascism, over and over again until I'm satisfied. This really just shows how simple his mind is.
Oh, also they slandered
the guy
him.
needs jingling keys in front of his face to understand basic concepts. This is the same guy that thought an MC Jarbo's song about Sargon of Akkad was actually sung by Sargon himself.
It's time to talk about the steam leader.
You're Sargon.
Damn straight. God, that black dick looks amazing. Oh my god.
That made me want to kill myself more than listening to 100 Gex, and that's an achievement for Sargon and whatever the fuck the other guy was. But
after this, Xanderhall would somehow lose a debate to a literal tanky named Hazal Din from the Infrared Show. He spends the whole debate smoking weed and drinking out of a beer bottle, claiming he's drunk throughout the 100-minute runtime.
and you would say every single fucking one of them was Nazi, or was CIA propaganda. I'm drunk as fuck right now. I've just come in here to argue with you.
Listen. I'm not gonna dismiss your sources as CIA and Nazi right off the bat. I'm gonna go through them with you. So why are you making assumptions?
I'm not here to argue with you about every fucking source. I'm drunk as fuck. I'm having a Meteor stream.
So I want to know
I'm
where
here
you
to
get
fuck
the
with you.
idea that there was a genocide, intentional genocide against Ukrainians.
I never said it's comparable to the Holocaust. Also, let me just go ahead and translate what you just said to something that makes sense to the average audience. Essentially what happened was there's something called the building up of economic sorry, I'm drunk as fuck right now, but I'm having a good time, don't worry. You're a very, very fun person to talk to. I'm very drunk right now, but can I get like very like leaving like the meme like argument stuff behind, can I get like very genuine with you for a second?
Yes, please. I've been waiting for that.
So I love socialism. I don't know if my rhetoric is kind of off right now because I'm very drunk, but
No,
I feel like we have to.
understand what your point is.
I understand that. I have to go pretty soon because I'm very drunk and I probably need to fucking end stream soon.
Usually when you're drunk, you'll do some stupid shit, but I've never heard of someone getting inebriated and proceeding to debate a communist on geopolitics. And maybe he could have won. This could have been Xanderhall at 1% of his power level. I mean, it was pretty smart for him to use his drunkenness as an excuse to exit a debate. A tactic he adjusted from his previous debate with the YouTuber Ask Yourself. During this conversation, they discussed topics like veganism and capitalism. When Xanderhall struggles to grasp a particular point, he interrupts the convo to ask his chat how to beat Dark Souls.
I appreciate that you're trying to put the burden of proof on me, but if you can't prove your point, you should be agnostic, which still doesn't ground you to say all consumption under capitalism is unethical, right?
Hold on a second. Hey chat, how the fuck do I get the thing to go to the DLC area? I killed the Hydra. I have Dusk's ring. I killed the little crystal dude, and nothing happened. Do I have to like leave the game and re-enter it or something? To kill the gold one? Where's the gold one? Is it back where the Hydra
And I'm pretty sure
was?
everyone sucks at video games while they're
Go back to the lake. Okay.
they're debating.
Never mind, sorry.
That's
what were you saying?
So not only was he losing this debate, but he was also getting his ass beat by a video game. Bro was managing 2 L's at the same time. I honestly don't know how the situation could get any worse.
You need them.
You would support a Holocaust.
Focus a lot of your resources on different
yeah, if they
L's.
were well, obviously I don't support it for animals, but I mean, if it turned out their human meat was really good, had no health problems, and I was like, yeah, I want some of that human meat, then yeah, maybe.
What the fuck is happening? I mean, I won't say he actually believes this.
Yeah.
As according to his own logic,
Actually, I have to
he
ask that
plays
too.
in
What the
others too.
fuck?
The context to this doesn't make it any better. Ask Yourself was basically doing a factory farming argument. We're all pretty familiar with those on the Rob's Media channel, and Xanderhall fell for the bait.
and you had like a moon
Yeah,
colony
same
far
here.
away. You wouldn't even think about it. You would just go to the store, just like you do now, and pick up a slab of human meat. There were no health consequences whatsoever for eating it. It was super good, just like a steak or whatever. You just picked it up, you took it to the store, and you know, these humans, like, honestly, would probably be more, in my moral system, more moral than like buying my computer parts. I'm pretty sure most of them were made from like isn't lithium in computers? There's like tons of people die mining lithium, right? Like, there's probably more human cruelty that goes into my computer that I'm using right now than would in this like theoretical situation. So of course, if I want to be morally consistent, I would be fine with this.
Dude, Vosh ruined this guy's brain more than weed ever could. He was a step away from debating the ethics of child pornography.
And this is going to be a real hot take. I have yet to hear a convincing moral or legal argument as to why possession of child pornography should be illegal.
A real Vosh quote, by the way.
By 2020, Xander Hall had already accumulated a decently sizable audience for himself, mostly comprised of fellow leftists who liked torturing themselves by watching his debates. But Xander Hall was ambitious, seeking to expand his audience through connecting with a far different audience. He wanted to court the commentary community.
So we need to defeat these people and radicalize their fans to the left as well. The way that I think is the best way to... This is my best method for doing this, and you're going to see me doing it a lot in the next 4 years. Leftists need to infiltrate the YouTube drama community. The YouTube drama community is,
I mean, there's already like several people in the leftists in the commentary community.
There is not any leftist representation in the YouTube drama sphere, and I plan on getting into that quite hard. When there is YouTube drama
Polecat still exists,
like non-political YouTube drama happening, I'm going to worm my way into that shit, and I'm going to give my takes on it. I'm going to try to build myself into that community.
Bro was just giving the game away. Bro was just blurting out his internal monologue, letting everyone know his strategy. His fans told him this was a bad idea, by the way, but he still tried it. His first step was to go after Keemstar, believing he was a gateway to the alt-right that was pushing the drama community back. However, it also seems like Xander Hall is just mad that Keemstar called his daddy Vosh a pedophile for very obvious reasons.
Oh yeah, also he's been calling Vosh a pedophile for clips
He
that
is
have
a
been,
pedophile.
like, debunked and like explained like a million fucking times. I'm not gonna get super into it because Vosh is already dealing with it on his own. I'm not gonna fan the flames of people's dumb shit, but Keem's also been doing that, so you know how it is. Basically, anytime Keemstar gives his take on left-leaning political figures, it's always in a negative way. There is no reason at all to believe that this dude is left-leaning.
I mean, it's hard not to when all the big online leftists are degenerate freaks, constantly getting exposed for heinous shit. The worst thing Xander Hall pulls up about Keem is the gamer word incident from over a decade ago.
The guy is like what most well known besides his drama channel for screaming the N-word. Oh wait, fuck, guys. I just realized I can never debate Keem on my channel. Because if I do, he's going to call me the N-word.
Vouch also said the N-word.
Alex. He won't be able to
I'm
help
pretty sure
himself
this was
with calling me
common
the N-word.
knowledge.
Fuck.
Yo, everybody type in the chat, Alex is a stupid name.
Keemstar chose to belittle Xander Hall, not taking him very seriously. Xan took this as cowardice, as Keem didn't want to debate him and give him further attention, though fellow commentary channel Willie Mac Show did, taking potshots on Twitter. He described Xander Hall and those like him as literally a bunch of 16 to 24-year-olds that think they have the whole world figured out. The two would debate shortly after
Willie Mac
on Augie
was
RFC
also
show, with Willie
somewhat
mainly
leftist.
taking aim at how cringy Xander Hall can be.
Hello everyone.
Or at least he
I come
has
in front
leftist
of
takes.
the Commentary Council today, where all major decisions on drama happen. Augie RFC, thank you for having me.
Welcome.
And
welcome,
I want to
man.
discuss the cringe lord Xander.
Oh.
Today I charge Xander with 4 major crimes against commentary. 1, Xander is a completely dishonest debater. He makes absurd comparisons while doing complete mental gymnastics. I'm charging Xander with numerous counts of being a bitch-ass backpedaler, while never admitting when he's doing it. He always comes up with some excuse for why it makes sense. Xander is also a wishy-washy little boy. In the same video, he'll go back and forth on the same opinion several times. He doesn't even notice, which I find pretty interesting. And finally, the dude is a self-admitting grifter. I mean, you even heard it when he first came in the call.
A big point of contention is that Xander Hall believes you shouldn't criticize female creators like Pokimane super hard, because you could potentially attract misogynists into your audience. He clearly doesn't know why Pokimane is hated, especially amongst the commentary community, claiming all the drama surrounding her is a massive nothing burger. Just ignore the false copyright strikes and attacking people's sponsors. She's a woman, and misogyny exists, so you can't go after her.
You gave your opinion on Pokimane. You literally summarized all the hate for Poki as everyone hates her because she's a girl.
Yeah, no,
and,
definitely.
Yeah, and we don't know what
know
what copyright it is, and you're completely wrong.
Yeah,
on
no,
that. Missing the whole point.
I don't think that most people would hate Poki as much if she was a dude. Absolutely. Yeah, no, the drama around Pokimane is probably some of the biggest nothing.
Yeah, shit like this is exactly why people never took feminism seriously.
Not knowing anything you're talking about on that.
No,
subject.
I've seen a shit.
Well,
ton
that
of
and
content
perps,
around
but
Pokimane.
that's
Probably
another
the biggest
subject.
propagator of it was Leafy, who literally went on about how he was never going to stop making videos on Pokimane until he got banned.
Dude, that's
and then,
the
when
equivalent.
he did, everybody got really
That's
angry.
the equivalent of saying the content cop on Leafy is only about his chin. Like, you're missing the greater picture there.
It's all very gay, and the debate ends with the two name calling each other, which is pretty funny.
Xander, you just sound like you're fucking crazy, dude.
You sound like you're a fucking idiot.
Dude, you're going on about how kids are.
Glad we can reach common ground over here.
I don't know what else to say, dude. If you think like Keemstar saying that leads to like radicalized shit, and you get radicalized playing Minecraft, I think that says
You're
more about
doing
you
the
than
thing again, my dude. You're doing that. You got radicalized playing Minecraft again. It's very very telling of how little you are able to grasp the concept of radicalization towards fringe political groups.
This debate pretty much halted any chance of Xanderhall joining this community, as he was way too on the nose of his intentions. I mean, the guy was instantly ready to suck on these guys' cocks. Metaphorically speaking, of course. If we were talking literally, he would be cosplaying Destiny. Xanderhall got euphoria whenever a commentary channel followed him on Twitter, treating it like the biggest achievement ever.
Subordinary Gamers follows me on Twitter. Guys, I made a video on Subordinary Gamers, and I was really careful about it, not to come off as very standoffish and like an asshole. That is good. This is a win.
I mean, I could think of plenty of ways you could get radicalized by Minecraft, but
that would be a big
none are pretty
Xanderhall was still
good.
somewhat amicable with certain commentary channels, most notably appearing as a guest on the Half-Baked podcast, hosted by Nicholas Diorio,
thank you.
Turkey Tom, and Lord Vega. Shout out to my boy Vega. While watching this episode for the first time, it became pretty apparent one of the reasons why he wanted to assimilate into commentary. Xanderhall wanted a more mixed audience, wishing to escape the woke scolds criticizing his language, citing a comment from D'Angelo Wallace.
But I believe that you got into some trouble for saying retard on a stream. And I think, actually, funnily enough, D'Angelo Wallace was in the comment sections of one of those videos being like, wow, he's ableist or something like that. I was curious about your thoughts on the use of like kind of words like that, and like, you know, is it okay to say fat? Is it okay to say retard?
Oh god, D'Angelo Wallace was upset about me about that. That one hits hard. That one, oh, yeah. So
it was just like one comment, but yeah.
Yeah, I've just decided to stop saying it because it was just causing so much shit and that kind of drama. Like, it's not that much.
Though he eventually ceased any direct engagement with these guys, as he found the drama community as a whole to be toxic. Which is ironic, as Xanderhall would then go on to associate himself with far more toxic people.
It's really unfortunate how much,
like Keppels.
like the right has their claws dug into EdgeTube and like the commentary drama community, because it feels like it's almost one big amorphous blob at this point, but it's really not. Like, there is more nuance to it than that. It's just, it can look like that from the outside looking in when there's so much like edginess and like toxicity from like the surface looking down.
Xanderhall has discussed numerous times on his channel that he used to be an incel, an involuntary celibate. At 16, he got rejected by a girl and became completely disinterested in dating.
Oh,
believing
goody.
He was an ugly freak. So he turned to the
Things
internet,
are finally
quickly
clicking
becoming
into place, aren't they?
As he seems really susceptible to that.
I was a bit of an incel. It's probably what led me to being more right-leaning when I was younger. I literally... Fuck. Back before our incel was banned, I browsed that subreddit on the regular.
But then, when he actually got some
at the very least, he didn't become a mass shooter.
He started and bone smashing to achieve the perfect jawline, becoming an ultimate stud.
If I'm being real, I've actually got like a lot of women that go after me. A lot of it is probably because of my notoriety online. But like,
A fair amount of it is because I, like, as much as I meme about it, I think I'm a fairly good-looking guy. Like, in terms of, like, I've got a pretty fucking strong jawline. I mean, you know, you can tap the fucking jaw there. I got a pretty strong chin, too, you know?
He even brags about porn stars in his DMs, which all confident men do.
I've literally had, like, A-tier porn stars hit on me, okay? I'm not joking around about that, all right? Like, I'm literally friends with this woman, all right? Let's just say you can get out of the incel shit, okay?
But now, as a far-left political commentator, Xanderhal has transformed himself into a white knight, defending women online who he believes are exempt from criticism. Though just like his defense of Pokimane, it's always completely performative, labeling all hate as misogyny instead of treating it with the nuance it deserves. During 2020, he chose to defend the YouTuber iDubbbz when he was getting called a cuck for allowing his then girlfriend to start an OnlyFans.
The people who are jacking off to another dude's girlfriend.
If he breeds, he's a
when
cuck!
he's the one that's fucking her, and they don't actually get to do it. The guys going on her OnlyFans and paying her money are the cucks. iDubbbz is the one that's fucking her. How is she a cuck? Or how is he a cuck? Yeah, they're projecting pretty hard. No, 100%.
This argument makes no sense to me, since Anissa isn't fucking Ian on camera or anything. Also, the reason people call Ian a cuck is because OnlyFans creators, or their managers, usually have to message their fans and take requests for their content, something Ian wouldn't be a part of. Xanderhal would also defend both Bad Bunny and Invader V when they crashed out on livestream begging for donations. He claims the hate against them has gone too far, but the worst examples he can find are people calling them Twitch thoughts.
You are a 30-year-old woman going through life by begging for donations from internet virgins.
It's technically cucks.
Damn, your legs are pretty hot. Guess I'm obligated to pay $5 for that service you offer. You don't deserve subs. Like, oh god. The Quartering made a video on it. I'm sorry. But, like, we have to agree. Even if you think that video was, like, if her tone was distasteful and inappropriate...
Wow, that was almost foreshadowing for shit we'd learn about the Quartering later.
People need to stop using the whole, like, Twitch thought begging for money thing as a justification for misogyny.
Xanderhal also downplays the actions of those women who film random men at the gym and accuse them of being creeps. He ignores the fact that they do this for publicity, as some were proven to do this as a form of promotion for their adult content.
I completely understand why in that situation, especially after he approached her, and to be clear, she made that TikTok and added all of like the little stare counter and like the little messages and everything after he approached her and she would have like gone home or been in her car or whatever. I have no doubt she felt uncomfortable from that interaction and uploaded that with the feeling as though she had, you know, felt like she was in danger.
So with Xanderhal's reputation of being a supreme ladies' man, what lucky girl got to date Xanderhal? Well, that would be a fan by the name of Lonnie, aka Pastel Leftist. They began dating when Xan was 20 and Lonnie was at least 28, with her being a frequent figure in his chat. During his debate with Destiny, she began accusing the latter of being a transphobe,
I remember the
which
last
led to Destiny
age gap
talking her. Xanderhal just sat there
where that occurred.
cucked.
Wait,
who is Lonnie? And well,
Lonnie's my girlfriend.
Oh, nice. She's a fucking moron. So, like, she even just did it to me. What I just said was that is transphobic. Sorry, go ahead. What were we saying?
Okay, my girlfriend's off limits. Okay. All right.
What? Tell her to stop talking shit about me then. Okay, sorry, go ahead.
But I can't control her. Wait, I can't control.
Then you can't control me talking shit about her. What the fuck?
I can't listen. I can't control women.
Oh,
I don't
fuck
have that
off,
power.
Destiny. You
Stop
did
protecting
worse.
them. Treat them like equal people. All right. You say dumb
Alright,
shit.
yeah, equal rights means equal fights. Okay.
On stream, the two seemed to be in a pretty happy relationship, though behind the scenes, things slowly fell apart. They break up in May 2022, with Lonnie dropping a twit longer 2 months later, levying various accusations.
Yeah, I heard about the Star Fox coming to Switch too. I don't care because it's another remake of Star Fox 64, which we already have enough of.
Against Xanderhal. She chews him out for breaking up with her over the phone, keeping some of her stuff, including her cat, and overall neglecting her as she became homeless. Xanderhall would respond over the next week, and for the sake of cohesion, I'll be covering their statements through a proper timeline. According to Xanderhall, the relationship began to fall apart when he noticed money going missing from his PayPal account. Many thought this was in relation to an infamous tweet he put out months prior, which reads,
So, someone hacked my PayPal or Steam, I don't know which yet, somehow and siphoned all of the money into their Steam account. Rest in peace, all of my money.
When someone asked why his bank couldn't interfere, he replied,
I don't use the bank! I use PayPal!
There was also a tweet about his broken computer where he asked his audience for
Yes,
help.
this actually
My
happened.
$6,000 PC is basically completely broken. I started getting System32 errors when trying to launch like 50% of my programs. So I tried everything up to resetting to a previous date, and now I can't open any programs. I really need help here. I can't afford to replace any hardware.
So Xanderhall already had a reputation for being financially irresponsible, though he claims the PayPal tweet was misinterpreted. At the time, he was in between banks after moving to California, though the thought of Xan keeping some of his
freaking
money
tell me
in his
about it.
Steam
I want-
account is really fucking funny
I
to
want
me.
Fox
Maybe
to
buying
just
Steam
fuck
games
Crystal
to him is
already,
the new
dang it.
crypto. I just hope he doesn't get rug pulled after buying a bunch of gacha games. But Xanderhall clarified that this situation was completely separate. He noticed that certain transactions were being hidden from him on his business PayPal account, including one for a gambling app that he had never used. He confronted Lonnie on this, to which she replied, "Nuh-uh." In hindsight, he realized that it was Lonnie doing this, as he had later learned from his ex-best friend that she was addicted to drugs and gambling, though at the time, she made various excuses
wow,
for
who'da
why his money
thought?
was going missing.
Before
That-
this,
that would have ended in
occasionally money
disaster.
would get stolen or go missing, and Lonnie would attribute it to debit card skimmers and gas pumps, or her losing the card, which I would promptly deal with by canceling said card and ordering a new one from PayPal, which takes 10 business days to arrive.
In her twit longer, Lonnie claims that she always kept his debit card on her, and it happened to be stolen from her car alongside her laptop. This guy must be Mr. Magoo or something, cause how the hell did he not put the pieces together already?
The money, Skylar. Where is the rest? Skylar, where is the money?
Eventually, Xan got tired of her leaving the apartment for long periods of time with his money, so he got new cards and broke up with her through text. He began moving out, partially because Lonnie wasn't paying rents like they agreed to, instead spending the money on who knows what. He learned that they were 8 months behind on rent, but his landlord went easy on him as Lonnie had apparently been hiding their notices.
Funnily enough, the apartment complex manager also let me know that she had been leaving notices on the door.
A
for the
rare
last
moment where
couple
Xander Hall
months,
isn't the
informing
villain.
us that we were behind on rent and the consequences.
Don't get
of
used to
not
that.
paying it. But I never saw any of these until after Lonnie got her job, so I'm guessing she was hiding those too.
At this point, Xanderhall just wanted her to pack her shits and move out, even allowing her to enter their apartment when he was away. Instead, she'd occasionally stop by to change clothes and see her cat, spending the next several weeks couch surfing and sleeping in her car. Xanderhall theorizes that she was stalling so he'd get an eviction on his record.
I messaged Lonnie and I informed her I was no longer living there anymore and it was time for her to start packing her things up and finding a place to live. But she would argue with me and claim she had
Riddle.
nowhere to go and nowhere to put her stuff. I told her that did not matter to me. The apartment
Again.
complex told me, and she already knew from the notices on the door, that in 1 month, they would be evicting, and everything in that apartment was going to end up in the county dump. I also informed her that if she didn't voluntarily move out of that apartment, and she's still living there on the day that they come to inspect, then I'd get an eviction on my credit and wouldn't be able to rent again. She needed to move her stuff out. I don't wish homelessness on anyone, but it just had to happen. There were notices being put on the door for months, and she was hiding them. She knew this was coming. She had plenty of time to prepare.
Xanderhall would then have to place her stuff in a storage unit, and took her cat Luna with him due to the AC not working. Lonnie says this was just an excuse to steal her cat, despite Xanderhall clearly not wanting to keep it. She then proceeded to lock him out of their apartment for days on end, and Zan got a letter in the mail showing that Lonnie was trying to get a credit card under his name, and after some quick digging, it turns out she had tried this twice before. So he decided to press charges on her for multiple counts of identity fraud, but before he could report this to the police, he was alerted that Lonnie got arrested for something completely different. In her twit longer, she says it was just because her vehicle registration
I'm having
expired,
deja
and that
vu
they
to
searched her car
the
because her friend was
Illuminati
on probation.
fallout.
But then Xanderhall
For
pulled
some
up her
reason.
arrest record saying,
You stole
Don't
my
know
money.
why.
You spent it on a secret meth addiction and just got out of jail. We broke up over a month ago. This is a sad attempt to extort me. More information coming soon.
So yeah, not only did she get in trouble for having an expired license, but she also had fictitious checks and was in possession of methamphetamine. The guy she was with had an out-of-county warrant for his arrest, and she'd end up spending 5 days in lockup. Xanderhall would proceed to ignore her calls, leading to a small minority of woke scolds that chew him out on Twitter, insisting he helped Lonnie in some way. If you think this, you are retarded, full stop. And it was actually pretty awesome how Xanderhall relished in her defeat.
It just feels like you're really relishing the idea that she's gonna have bad things happen
Wait,
to
but
her.
wait, okay, wait, hold on. Have you ever been in a situation like this? Have you ever been fucked over to this degree?
Yeah, I definitely know you made that mistake
I
before.
didn't get her arrested. She was out, got arrested with drugs, and it happened to her because of her actions. Why should I feel bad? She was out, she was literally... I don't know.
Though this is the part of the drama where my support for Xanderhall diminishes. He then makes some crazy statements about how he returned to their apartment, finding it a complete mess. He claims to have photos of all of this, including a deranged to-do list, a cricket machine made for crafting fake IDs, and a meth-making operation in the living room. It flat out just sounds like a rejected Breaking Bad episode.
She had a drug-making operation going in the living room. And I won't go into super big detail on that. We threw all that shit out. And because it was happening in an apartment with my name on it and we got all that shit out of there, I don't want to deal with the shit from it, so I won't go into any more detail than that. But yeah.
Did Xanderhall just admit to a crime? I mean, this would be considered covering up a meth lab, but I'm no lawyer. I just saw that one episode where Saul gets Jesse his house back.
Good try of sneaking a meth-contaminated property past the buyer. I mean, could have been a good deal for you.
But the thing many found fishy is that, in his interview with Chud Logic, Xanderhall claims to have photos for all of this, which he planned to expose in his response video.
It had been 10 days since I had been to that apartment. And I walk in, there are pics and they'll be shown off on stream.
But then, when it came to his response stream 10 days later, he failed to show any pictures of his apartment. And his reasoning is because it would be embarrassing or something, which makes no sense. You're accusing your ex-girlfriend of a felony. You need to back that up. Even worse is that he changes his story.
He has a
claiming that she
freaking...
wasn't actively making drugs.
His girlfriend has a freaking meth lab, and he covers it up.
Find in the living room other than a big
Dude.
package of shrink-wrapped assorted jars, along with what seemed to be a beaker and some other glassware they just bought sitting on top of it. Now, I've seen Breaking Bad, and I've seen Walt and Jesse's meth lab, and it certainly wasn't that. Like I said on Chud's stream, I don't know what drug, if any, she was planning on making, but I'm just glad she hadn't started yet, because if she had, I would have had to call the police for them to go clear the building, because that apartment hadn't been inhabited for days, and good lord, I grew up in Florida, and I know
when is he
better
ever
than
not
most of you
exaggerating?
guys what happens when a neighbor leaves a meth lab unattended. It happened to my best friend's neighbor in middle school.
I don't even know why he had to make these claims if they're not true. You already got her, dude. You showed evidence that she had meth in her possession. Now you're going overboard, Xanderhall. This whole situation was still a massive hit to his reputation, as Lonnie's main goal here was to garner sympathy, and humiliate him publicly. It's why her twitlonger includes random things that don't matter, like Xan allegedly trashing his room and begging his mommy for weed. There were also rumors floating around that Xanderhall knew about Lonnie cheating on him with her drug dealer, though it's never been officially confirmed.
Yeah.
As much as I'd like to believe the cuck allegations, I don't think Xan is some sexual deviant based on that BDSM test he took on stream. He might be the only breadtuber with a somewhat normal sex life. You know, if you ignore the fact that his girlfriend was ingesting meth and wasting his money on her gambling addiction. I mean
relatively normal life. sex life.
On November 20th, 2022, the YouTuber Shoeonhead would put out this viral tweet calling out the fashion company Balenciaga. The brand Balenciaga just did a interesting photo shoot for their new products recently, which included a very purposely poorly hidden court document about virtual child porn, normal stuff. Now a correction that needs to be made is that these are actually from two separate photo shoots, but all these photos are creepy as fuck. Two of them show little girls holding teddy bears wearing what looks to be bondage gear, and the other one shows a handbag and a bunch of documents. One of these documents is a US Supreme Court case related to virtual child porn. Many were outraged by this, leading to Balenciaga apologizing, and later deleting their social media accounts for a decent bit of time. But because Shu has a pretty mixed audience, some conservatives would speak out against Balenciaga, which Xanderhall didn't really like that much. He had long held a love-hate friendship of her, maintaining it because she had associated with other leftist creators like Vosh and Keffels. But for a while, he had been trying to find an excuse to burn the bridge with her, especially after
it was a shit show.
Children attending drag shows, which
I still don't know what Balenciaga was
Balenciaga tweet was his final straw
thinking with that.
Shoeonhead, on her way to once again use her massive platform to provide the neo-Nazis in her audience with fodder they can use to justify the murder of gay people. But this time, the day after another anti-gay terror attack.
He would then go on stream to explain his tweet, as it comes across as insane and demented.
Doesn't exactly roll off the tongue.
Has used her massive platform to do something that has provided the neo-Nazis in her audience. You follow along? We agree so far? With fodder they can and then did use to justify the murder of gay people. But this time, the day after another, because there's been many, anti-gay terror attack. Solid gift, solid tweet. Does anybody here feel as though this was me just striking out of nowhere, completely unwarranted?
Yes, Xanderhall, it does feel like that. You're using the Club Q shooting from the day before in order to weaponize your audience against Shu. Yet he thinks she's the one using that tactic, claiming her tweet will allow conservatives to weaponize the Balenciaga scandal against gay people. Which is bizarre because nowhere in her tweet did Shu mention gay people. Either Zan automatically thinks of gay people when pedophilia is a topic of discussion, or he's just mentally unwell. Maybe he took some Fridays meth.
I just kept on seeing these posts, right? It's literally a day after a mass shooting motivated by this ideology. Shoeonhead knows that she's got a bunch of neo-Nazis and reactionaries following her. She posts some conspiracy bait that she knows the Nazis in her audience are going to run with, because they did it last time she did something like this. I decided it was time to call it out.
These conservative bottom feeder Twitter accounts will use any tweet they can to rile people up. Yet
yeah,
Zan
they're
is more
grifters.
focused on calling
It's
out
just
Shu
what
because
they
he is an axe to
do.
grind. The rest of the stream is just him bitching and moaning that Shu blocked him on Twitter for being a schizo, and also pulling up tweets where right-wingers are calling him a retarded fat. Xanderhall would then form a dogpile on her with others in his circle. One being the airheaded streamer Denims, known for trying to fuck all the men she's attempted to orbit. She would spend her stream downplaying the Balenciaga scandal, even claiming that bondage wear was in no way sexual. Not surprisingly, she would later go on to defend Chris Tyson and Keffels when they were exposed for grooming minors.
Oh yeah, did you know
You
that
guys think this is BDSM
Denims was once
gear?
a Tumblr
Do
user?
you think that this is also BDSM gear? You think this is BDSM gear? It's literally Hot Topic. Dog, it's literally Hot Topic.
Oh, and then Demon Mama, this absolute freak, pedo-jacket Shu by claiming her tweet is a form of projecting.
If you're so triggered that you see a piece of leather and you know, I don't know, maybe Shoeonhead sees a piece of leather next to a child and starts getting a little, you know, riled up. Maybe it's a little bit of projection on Shoeonhead's part. Or maybe she's just full of shit.
Friendship ended with Shoeonhead. Now Demon Mama is my best friend.
Oh no! Petco.com! Oh no! They're selling pedophile wear!
Yeah, this person is denser than a fucking black hole. Also, important to note that this person later got exposed for having a bunch of minors in their not safe for work Discord. So literally just a Nux Taku situation. Oh, and their partner was
left or
allegedly
right,
the
you're
Shogun,
always gonna have
so
a
this really
groomer
was the
somewhere.
plot point in the kettle black. Xanderhall would end up getting banned on Twitter, claiming it was due to Shu's fans mass reporting him. However, it was actually due to him telling a random Twitter user to off themselves, which is funny to me as he was constantly portraying himself as the victim here. When Shu announced her video covering the situation, he would whine about it, later revealing this information to Keffels.
Somebody that she actually allowed to follow her private account ended up sending me a tweet she'd made where she said, "I'm currently working on a slander haul video." She was gonna make a video and she called it a slander haul video.
If you've done 3 videos about her, why is it the greatest sin that she does a response video?
She called it the slander haul video. She was planning a video in which she was going to slander me. That's why her own followers that knew both of us that were allowed onto her private Twitter
video,
leaked it
that
to
means that she's calling you the slanderer.
Bro, not even the biggest crybaby in the world is taking him seriously. That's how much of a massive pussy Zan is being. Her response would come out 2 weeks later, where she recaps the situation and dunks on Xander Hall and many others for hijacking it. Xander Hall's response was to double down, claiming that Shu supports Nazis and is spreading harmful conspiracy theories. His evidence for this is weak at best. He thinks that Shu merely following these people on Twitter is an endorsement of some kind, and the posts of theirs she's responding to have nothing to do with
so the embrace
Shuanhead and this
Shadow's
Pedro Gonzalez
defense.
guy are like actual friends. Here's an interesting one. Why are you as a father so obsessed with the growing normalization of pedophilia? Do you guys really think there's actually a growing normalization of pedophilia? In like Western society, outside of conservative spaces that want to lower the age of consent so that like old men can marry 13-year-old girls, do you think outside of conservative spaces there is a growing normalization of pedophilia? There is not. This is conspiracy brain, that alone.
Like, what the fuck does this have to do with anything besides shifting the goalpost? And yet, he has the fucking gall to think Shu is conspiracy-brained, when he proceeds to go on an unhinged rant about how she must believe the Jews rule the world, all because she made an Epstein joke.
Also, just so everyone knows, I am not suicidal, just in case news comes out that I was found with 3 designer bullets in the back of my head. Now.
So, she's just like full on, like the Jews are gonna get her, I guess, is what she believes. So now she's like a martyr who's gonna get like killed by the Jews for fighting against their like pedo agenda or something? Is that what she believes? Okay.
And then 10 minutes later, she disproves this narrative, leading to Xander Hall shifting the goalpost once again.
Do I think they are literally trafficking children? I don't think that. I don't know that. I've never claimed to know that. What I do know is that this is a huge fuck up from a billion-dollar company. And when a billion-dollar
Okay, so they aren't doing anything to kids. So the worst case scenario is it was a kind of weird photo shoot and a different photo shoot with a weird document. So that's all it was. You're admitting that. You don't think that there's some child sex trafficking pedo ring in the basement? See, so apparently it's just subliminal messaging. That's what she thinks it is? Conspiracy brain is wild.
His friend Keffels would try to mend the bridge between the two, but Xander Hall is extremely stubborn and can't accept the fact that he's wrong about something. During a stream they did in February 2023, he argued with her concerning a rumor that Shu's boyfriend is a trans-hating
Yeah, there's no
neo-Nazi.
doubt about that.
Keffels actually decided to look into this and found nothing of the sort.
He is a very much like a, far right. If you don't like me calling him a Nazi, I can call him very far right.
Hold on a second. I found his Twitter account. I'm gonna take a look. If your
What is
solution to
this?
the trans issue is mocking murdered teens, you will be very uncomfortable when God asks why you mistreat his creations instead of loving. He's literally defending trans people in the post.
Sure, this one's a bit older, but here's one where he says they've gotten a majority of the Western world
February
to...
14th. This was from 4 days ago.
Okay.
The problem, as you can blatantly see, is that this guy couldn't take a fucking L. He let this drama and its aftermath fester in his mind over the next year, which would eventually destroy all the connections he had left within BreadTube. While they disagreed with some things, Xander Hall remained friends of Keffels through and through. They would stream together quite often, and Xander Hall was down to support her righteous mission to take down the gossip forum, Kiwi Farms. She had claimed that the website was responsible for swatting her and forcing her to hide in Ireland, a story that was dubious at best. Though for over a year, she was able to write off all valid criticism as bigotry, waving her trans identity around and always acting like the victim. Zan didn't see anything wrong with her rancid online behavior, but instead decided to burn the bridge with her over something completely retarded. Keffals had remained friends with Shoe-on-Head despite Zan's constant whining, and in December 2023, she defended her against this greasy little goblin man named Thought Slime. In response, Xanderhall began foaming at the mouth and ran to Twitter to voice his thoughts.
Why did no one tell me that Keffals dick rides Shoe so hard after she pedo-jacketed me and Demon Mama? Actual snake behavior.
The two would then debate on stream, retreading on the Balenciaga drama while discussing guilt by association. Both Vosh and Keffals disagreed with many of the things Shoe had said, but are not willing to sever their connection to her. But Xanderhall is only going after Keffals, so she calls him out for being a cowardly hypocrite.
Like, I stick my neck out for you and I act like a real friend when you need help, and then you're willing to burn me over this?
How am I burning you? I literally am not burning you. All I'm going to do is I planned to do before I came on here today is make a video segment where I explain why I burnt the bridge, explain my feelings. It feels like you were kind of trying to make me sound insane and crazy.
You called me a snake and a dick rider.
Like I said, I felt bad for saying that.
And I know that now. And I don't even think that you do. I think that you feel the same way.
I was emotional. I honestly feel a little bit like how I said that what I said in that tweet. The more that we talk, because it feels like you just want to continue to defend what she did to a degree. It feels like you're defending what she did.
The two would fling responses at each other back and forth over the next week, with Zan vague posting about how big things were coming, and that many of their mutual acquaintances were unhappy with Keffals.
I'm not going to say too much because I've been asked not to. All I'm going to say is, Keffals, to get at me and to hurt me because of this, has hurt some people behind the scenes that are mutuals of ours. And they're really not happy, and they're gonna be speaking up with their side of things. And it's probably gonna change a lot of people's perspective.
He then retweeted someone that accused Keffals of abusing their ex-partner, which escalated the drama real quick. This led to her making a stream titled I Was Raped, where she was forced to reveal that she was actually the one being abused in her previous relationship, which was the real reason she moved to Ireland.
And the reason that I don't talk about my ex is that over the course of several years, my ex mentally, emotionally, and sexually abused me. And I never wanted to talk about it. I have very actively avoided talking about it. I have nightmares about this stuff. This shit is just fucking cruel.
So now Xanderhall looks like a massive asshole to a good chunk of his audience, and he began losing hundreds of thousands of subs over this, and strangely, it would take him almost 2 weeks to respond, writing out this manifesto-style Google Doc about Keffals and reading it out on stream. He does apologize for retweeting that post, but does go on to yap about random bullshit for another hour and a half. He also planned on leaking DMs between Keffals and his editor, Cherry, which allegedly had some career-ending information. Chud Logic heard about this and mentioned it on stream, with White Nervosa eventually stepping in. They're the owner of White Forest, a platform used by a lot of these breadtubers in order to sell their merch and promote their content. Socialists who hate capitalism but still want to sell their shitty logo on a t-shirt. I mean, come on, if you ever see a bloke walking around with a Xanderhall X logo on a shirt, I think you have permission from God himself to beat the shit out of that person. Is this a fucking $38 sports bra? I doubt women even watch Xanderhall, unless they're trans or have some form of BPD. Okay, sorry for that.
I don't even think trans people watch Xanderhall.
Basically just a cabal of Keffals dick suckers, and White Nervosa will kick anyone who goes after her, such as Rose Wrists. Nervosa made this long-ass tweet calling out Xanderhall, doing the equivalent of a mom taking away their son's Xbox privileges. Nervosa threatened to remove his website, so he chickened out of leaking those DMs, which is a damn shame honestly. This would have legitimately been a badass moment for him, but that would require a spine. So now it's back to being a whipping boy for a bunch of deranged online leftists. It would end up being Mudahar of some ordinary gamers who leaked these DMs, showing Keffals doxing Bana Banada and gloating about becoming a private investigator. This completely dismantled the narrative that Keffals was this innocent victim being mass targeted by a big bad doxing website, being the final nail in the coffin that destroyed her reputation. Xanderhall would also end up getting into conflict with Vosh, who earlier in 2024 had been exposed as a lolicon horsecock enjoyer.
Referring to?
However, the revelation
Yeah,
of
that
Vaughn
clip
was a
never gets old.
pedophile wasn't what made Zan dislike the guy. It instead had to do with his takes regarding the 2024 US presidential election. Several colleagues of his, including Demon Mama, wanted Joe Biden to exit the presidential race in light of several public blunders, like his then recent debate with Donald Trump.
Look, if we finally beat Medicare.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump.
And now we have a president who shits his pants on
A lot of
live
Democrats
television.
wanted to replace Biden with someone more capable and not 2 minutes away from death. But as usual,
Yippee.
Xander Paul is stubborn and wanted Biden to hold out.
And here's the clip that that Vosh says, you are insane if you think Biden shouldn't drop out immediately. Prepare yourselves to cringe.
And now I want to hand it over to the president of Ukraine, who has as much courage as he has determination. Ladies and gentlemen, President Putin.
No, Joe! Joe!
President Putin. He's going to beat President Putin. President Zelensky.
He corrects himself immediately, too. It's like, okay, he misspoke.
He then compares streamers misspeaking to Biden misspeaking, as if Biden wasn't one of the most powerful people in the world. But Zan thinks it's insane for anyone to criticize Biden, labeling people like Vosh as grifters and claiming they secretly want Trump to win. Xander Hall even challenged the horsecock enjoyer to a debate.
We're doing a reaction for now.
Yeah,
and I'm
because
writing
that
down
went
your
well.
arguments, but if you want to do a debate on this at a later date, maybe later in the stream, I'm totally down. But I want to hear your arguments in this video. I don't like them so far, sadly. I think you're way too hard on Biden.
But Vosh was watching the stream and didn't give a single fuck about Xander Hall, seeing him as a backstabber after the whole Keffels drama. He declined the debate offer, seeing it as a waste of time since the guy clearly only wanted clout.
He said he wanted to debate. Of course he wants to debate. That's the fucking number one, man. Hey, here's some like incomprehensibly retarded shit that I'm saying. Here's an argument that fails the first hurdle. I don't need to debate this. The argument just lost. You might as well debate. Hey, debate me 1 + 1 = 3, bro. No. Fuck you. It's all money to you people. It's crazy. Jet, you have no principle. No one believes anything. What the fuck is there to debate? You're empirically, objectively wrong. Argue with God.
Xander Hall admitted defeat here, and a week later, it was announced that Joe Biden would be stepping down from his re-election campaign, with his VP Kamala Harris taking over. During his coverage of this, he said something out of spite that really pissed off members of his audience.
Biden was very pragmatic, and yeah, he would joke, but it would be like how an old man jokes. I would have still voted for him proudly, but I'm really excited for voting for Kamala. I mean, that's well and good. I will admit that a very small part of me, kinda wants to see Trump win, or it's less so wants to see Trump win, but thinks Trump will win, and when he does, that part of me will be able to I told you so everybody who called for Biden to step down.
Well, a broken clock is right twice a day, unfortunately.
What?
No, alright. I know that sounds bad.
Ah,
So
classic
at this
clip.
point, he had severed any ties he had left to BreadTube, and Demon Mama would do 2 different streams completely trashing him. More context was given to the White Nervosa drama from months ago, with Demon Mama stating that Xana not only burned the bridge with her, but also his editor, Cherry. It's claimed that Xander Hall was financially abusing Cherry, and would get furiously angry at her. In response, he said this claim was blown way out of proportion.
According to Demon Mama, you completely blew up at Cherry. That's a really bad look, not gonna lie. Sometimes me and Cherry got stressed out and would yell, but like, no more than just general like friend arguments and stuff. We also had a tendency to spam things at each other in all caps. Have you tried reaching out to Cherry not on stream to talk with? I like she blocked me out of nowhere. Like the Cherry blocking me thing was
Out of nowhere, right?
We were completely chill, and then out of nowhere they just like say I'm gonna block you before you block me, because at that very moment Demon Mama was doing her stream. Like it's.
So Demon Mama then dropped an absolute nuke. The DMs between Xander Hall and Cherry, where he berates and scolds her for the fact that Progressive Victory, this left-wing political organization he works for, didn't send him any money. He blames this on her, and threatens to move back to California from Seattle and fire her. And now, a reading of these absolutely insane Discord messages.
Okay, so I think I'm fucked. Still no money, and still does not show as pending in my bank account. Okay, the number was wrong, confirmed. The $4,000 went to some rando. It has to be stopped. Cherry, ASAP, emergency, fuck, homeless. I am now homeless. Cherry, why? And
Honestly, I'm surprised you didn't do it sooner.
now, please, I'm gonna be homeless. Cherry, V. I have never been paid by PV before, according to all of my bank info. Not ever before. Sherry, answer now. I will be homeless starting tomorrow. Sherry. Okay, so we are buying my ticket back to California now. Thank you for completely ghosting me tonight. I will never forget it, never. The only way to save me is for Progressive Victory to pay me everything they owe. I have never received a single payment, not one. I am fucked. Cherry, answer now. Cherry, you have fucking killed me. Why?
You laugh, you lose.
Why? Please!
And you already lost. Dang it.
Please! Answer now! Answer! I have messaged Brianna myself. When you are back online, we need to have a conversation about your future employment. If I am saved, it will be no thanks to you. If I am fucked, it's your fault for not making sure they paid me. You swapped the fucking numbers, and they weren't able to pay me because of that. Now the 4K is on the way to some fucking guy. I am waiting.
Xander Hall continues.
I want you to know that if I have to fly back to California tomorrow, I cannot bring my PC. I will not be able to afford your pay. Your job will not exist anymore tomorrow because you wouldn't message me back. This is
I've had
still
meltdowns before, though.
but
Never
time
really
is now
online.
slipping away. And if
Or at least I
you're
don't
asleep
really think
and
I've had
see
them
this
online.
in the morning,
I don't
it's
know.
already too late. I am now also in hot water with Brianna because I look bad for having you handle this shit while I was busy. You were the one who got me to join Progressive Victory. I told you I would be too busy to handle this stuff, and you said you would. I have to now pay another $250 so my mom could reschedule her flight and extend her rental car for next week. My lease still ends in 25 hours, but I won't be stranded here without her when I get kicked out. I could have locked in this house hours ago if you were fucking awake to send me the W9 and pay agreement from Progressive Victory to verify my income, you fucking fuck! I would have had the place. I would have been moved in by now, you motherfucker. You are the only person holding this whole process back. Now you fuck! If I end up being made homeless because this place gets
Or at the very
nabbed
least,
up
get
by
off his
tomorrow,
fucking weed
and
pen.
I'm stuck living with my abusive mom again, and my fans ask why I am back where I started. I'll make sure they know it was because of you.
Cherry then finally calls him 20 minutes later.
Weed.
Though this conflict
Not
didn't end here.
even
A few
once.
weeks later, in the midst of the couple's drama, she confronted him over not paying her.
You probably won't even pay me this month.
Why do you think I won't pay you? Tell me why you think that I can't and how it makes me bad.
You didn't last month.
Why? Say it. Why couldn't I pay you? And how does that reason make me an asshole? I'm gonna get evicted at the end of this month at this rate, Cherry. We've not made enough money. I cannot change that.
I have been your #1 supporter for 2.5 years. I'm worried if I don't agree to this, you're going to hurt me.
I'm not Keffels.
You talk about wanting people to die a lot.
A lot of people need to
Oh,
die,
that's
to
ominous.
be fair.
Yeah.
We're still friends, right? Like, you still want to see my dog and stuff?
Hours later, he goes on this crazy, unhinged rant about Keffels.
I hate all of them, Cherry. I want all of them to die. I would kill Keffels in a heartbeat. I wouldn't even shoot her. I'd beat her to death with the gun.
You're not in a good mental state.
I will kill
Yeah,
her!
think?
What's her address? I want it. I want to know where she's at.
She's in Ireland. It's not public. Please stop. You're spiraling.
Someone has to die for this. I will never be happy until someone has died for this. Ideally, Keffels.
Her career is going to die.
And Velvet and her fucking orbiters. I have to kill her.
Yeah.
Really kill her.
Yeah,
Stop
dude.
Her heart.
Her career's already dead.
Stop. Calm down. Stop.
Shut the fuck up.
Okay.
This rant's obviously disturbed Keffels, who made a Twitter thread saying she'd leave the internet again. Oh, and she dropped this really pretentious speech on Discord, ending with, "Thank you for calling me by my actual name. Keffels was a persona, a brand, not a person. I am Clara Sorrenti. Goodbye, Keffels. Rest in piss." Nobody sympathized
Yeah,
with
won't
her
be
here,
missed.
as by this point, she was known as a scammer and groomer. Xander Hall's reputation had also completely tarnished, being seen as a mentally insane freak scrounging for cash so he doesn't go homeless. Xander Hall has always been a financially challenged person, with his views constantly
To say
dipping
the
since
least.
2022. But by election season, he was really feeling it. It was common to see this guy doom posting about how his career was failing, even making this embarrassing Discord
Gee,
post about not
I
having
wonder
enough money to fix
why.
his phone.
Pretty bad news for you all today.
Fucking
a while
jackass.
ago, my phone fell out of my pocket and onto my driveway, shattering the screen and making it so it can't turn on. My two-factor authentication was connected to my number, so I quickly became aware that if anything happened to log me out of Google, I'd basically be screwed until I could get a new phone with my number moved over to it. Well, that something happened today, and when I came downstairs, my PC had restarted itself for an update, parentheses normal, but logged me out of everything. I got back into most of it, but my YouTube/Google is logged out, and I need my phone number to log back in. This basically means I am locked out of my YouTube channel until further notice. I am gonna do everything I can, short of Karening out at an Xfinity store today, but if that doesn't work, would you guys still support me if I had to start a new channel?
All of this over needing to get his phone screen fixed, which Kristen Nark pointed out only cost a couple $100. Does Xander Hall not have enough money to buy something this important? Well, apparently yes, as around this time, he began what I would call his e-begging arc, where Xan would go on stream and beg his viewers to watch and engage with his content since he wasn't getting as much ad revenue. However, he does it through this us versus them mentality, claiming it's mainly an issue affecting leftist creators online.
Like little over 10%, sorry, of people who've gone into the stream today chose to hit the like button, despite it taking half a second. That is what kills so many lefty YouTube channels. Just like the low rate of voting participation among progressives, they also think their likes and their comments don't count when there's millions that are being included in an algorithm to account for things, and so they don't get involved. And so lefty channels have always had really low engagement and had a really hard time existing online, like going back to the beginning, because lefties don't click things, they don't engage, they don't vote, they don't make their voice heard because they're just one person.
Yeah, I wonder why
Now,
Donald
to me,
Trump's
this
in
sounds fucking
president.
retarded. There's a lot of lefty creators of good engagement. They just happen to put some semblance of effort into their content. Even Vosh, despite his reputation of jerking it to animated children, still gets good engagement on his streams and videos. I think Xander Hall's main issue is that he streams within an oversaturated market, and can't compete with a lot of the big dogs. And nothing shows us better than the Innuendo Studios situation. Ian Danskin, or Innuendo Studios, is a failed YouTuber known for his alt-right playbook series, where he complains about arguments he gets into
Who
on
is also
Twitter,
a cuck,
but after the
surprisingly
pandemic,
enough.
he stopped uploading as much, blaming it on a bunch of different factors like his back hurting. Since then, he's been losing money, and released a video in May 2025 that tried to garner sympathy from his audience.
I have been running this channel at a loss for 7 years, and between back taxes I owe the government, a maxed out credit card that is in collections, and money I owe to a few people who've bailed me out, I have a total accumulated debt that is pushing $100,000.
What the actual fuck is wrong with this guy? It's all his own fault, by the way. This guy avoided paying his taxes for years while sitting on his ass watching movies and playing video games all day.
Yeah.
I do these little projects where like I have a
why didn't he just
film
become a
randomizer
streamer?
List. It's like a list of
Everyone else
this year's
doing
list is like
it.
36 movies where I hit shuffle on Letterboxd.
He already has an audience, so
whichever one comes
seems like a
up first,
no-brainer
I try
for
to
him.
Get through the whole list by the end of the year. And I write little reviews for them. Or I have like a video game cabinet, just games I'm trying to get through before the end of the year. I do a reading log, and I make a playlist, a 6-song playlist every month that I share with patrons.
But like a lot of leftists,
fair.
he gets away with this behavior by begging his massive audience to donate him money. And these idiots will give it to him because they believe he's some sort of savior to the left. Noah Samson does the same shit. He went on hiatus for 5 months and said he spent much of this time playing League of Legends. But Ian managed to raise over
Oh god, he's a League of Legends player. No
$100,000
wonder
off the
he
back of this.
spiraled that
Using
hard.
some of this money to go on hiatus and take a sabbatical. Xander Hall watched this and
It all makes sense
wow, this
now.
guy is so me-coded. Maybe I can raise a shit ton of money off the back of my retarded fan base. He justifies this laziness by saying progressive content creators have it tough, as if there isn't tons of potential in it right now with the current political climate.
Yeah, not gonna lie, that doesn't exactly fly in a world where Hassan's still making
As much as that might not
gangbusters.
have an impact on voter numbers, like sure, those people are.
I mean, yeah, I hate the dude,
I'm sure they're
but
still protesting, engaging in direct action.
he knew how
and all those
to
good
make
things
money
that
at the
should be
very
done.
least.
It is still a tragedy, I think.
Vaguely.
I don't think they're doing anything wrong. They don't have to watch progressive content, but I think it's a tragedy that we're losing that online community that you could argue brought the right its victory, the biggest victory politically they've had in ages with this election. And so, with all that said, we've seen
Also true.
a lot of progressive content creators lately that many of you guys probably think of as household names having to take hiatuses or outright quitting YouTube because, frankly, being a progressive content creator is not worth it for the most part. It takes a lot of hard, diligent work to make it viable.
Again, he's doing this to create an us versus them mentality, thinking that leftist creators will always get the short end of the stick because the algorithm is biased against them, even though in reality it's probably the complete opposite, as YouTube has banned tons of right-wing creators over political extremism. I mean, the only left-wing person who ever came close to that is Destiny.
yeah, Tectone
He got
can
his channel
attest to that.
demonetized for either spreading violent rhetoric following the Charlie Kirk shooting, or because he's a massive pedophile. But for the 100th time, Xander Hall is stubborn as fuck and thinks his failure is someone
Yeah,
else's
fuck
fault.
Destiny.
He even gets told this stuff by a chatter and automatically assumes they're a right-winger there to concern troll him.
From Yasuke Vermeulen in chat says, have you considered making better content? Must be the viewer's fault. You are clearly a conservative in chat to concern troll. And I'll actually use you as an argument before we finish up the segment. Like I said before, you will deal with people like these constantly anytime you try to acknowledge this. The right doesn't want there to be a conversation on the left about the fact that, like, algorithms objectively work the way they do, and if the left is going to reach a broader audience, then, like, the audiences have to engage. They want to try and turn your audience against you when you have that conversation by saying, oh, well, why don't you just make better content? Doesn't matter how good the content is. Like, algorithms work the way they do.
And to justify this insane take, Xander Hall later made up this deranged schizo theory that YouTube is A/B testing videos against each other, which inherently affects BreadTube.
What's going on here? What's going on? Well, I have a theory. If you're a content creator, or you watch YouTube, you might have heard of a phrase
fucking
called
hilarious.
A/B testing. A/B testing means you're just testing thing A against thing B, and thing B against thing A, trying to see which of the two things does better at anything you're trying to test. Here's the thing, though. I don't think A/B testing as a concept is new to YouTube, though. I don't think it's new, like 2 years new. I don't. I think behind the scenes, maybe over 5 years now, YouTube has been internally running A/B tests. Like, sometimes the algorithm is just nicer to you than other times, right? And has nothing to do with how much effort you're putting in, how good your videos are, how well you're editing, what your topics are. None of it really matters as much as whether or not YouTube is just cumulatively giving you some level of favoritism at certain times. And you can see there have been times where YouTube has done that, where like nothing about my content has changed, and yet we'll have a flat line, a massive spike and a huge gain in subs, and then a bit of a dip and flatline again.
Hey, maybe that's the problem. That you've been churning out the same shit for the past 5 years and nobody cares anymore. Maybe switch it up? Do something new? But nah, just spam out the same shit over and over again that gets 1,000 views on average. 100,000 sub channel, by the way. What he seems to realize is that all the money and attention is being soaked up by Hassan and his cronies right now. Something I believe he's envious of, which explains why he's constantly taking these pot shots on Twitter.
I can tell you that he's not making anywhere near as much as you think he is. No progressive YouTuber besides Hassan, or that like sphere that orbits Hassan, is. Maybe Vosh. Vosh is the one exception outside the Hassan orbit that's making money right now. Obviously, you've got your big channels like Brian Taylor Cohen and Fair and Balance and stuff, but that's like borderline mainstream news now.
This shift in viewership has left him with very few.
Is Destiny still doing okay? I never actually looked into it.
Anyway, guys, let us move on. But first, I gotta update the
Fucking no,
donation
not.
to reflect the generous singular donation we've gotten so far. Thank you for the $5, guys. I appreciate it.
That was 2 hours into the stream, by the way. I almost feel bad for the guy if he wasn't such a moronic windbag. He clearly isn't
Keyword is
trying hard enough to
almost.
avoid moving back in with his mommy for the 10th time. How else is he supposed to get new weed cartridges?
And of course, if you want to support me directly, financially, help me keep the lights on and a roof above my head here at the Xander Hall studio, then please consider donating, subscribing, or gifting a sub on my website, xanderhall.com/live, or support me through YouTube, Twitch, Streamlabs, Stream Elements, Patreon, or buy some custom Xander Hall merchandise through the Streamlabs link down below.
Yes, guys, please buy my groundbreaking merchandise. These things are collecting dust in a warehouse right now. What's funny is that he actively refuses to take sponsorships, something he desperately needs, though he justifies it by bragging about his moral superiority.
Fundamentally, we have to rely on fan support in order to not come off as disingenuous in what we stand for.
Yeah, I hate to break it to you,
We are
Xander
shooting
Hall, but
ourselves
morals
in the
don't mean
foot
shit in a
when we
capitalist
take easy
society.
Opportunities to become more financially stable and successful, because to an extent, there is a cultural expectation in the online left that if you're a progressive, you're not exactly rolling in the money, you're not taking easy money payoffs that might be somewhat principally against what you stand for, and I think that's a good thing.
You know, I'm glad you still have morals, Xander Hall. I hope they serve you well when you're living behind a dumpster in an alleyway next month. It's just awesome hearing this guy brag about morality when he flagrantly pushes false abuse allegations and threatens to kill someone over petty internet drama. Xander Hall is now floundering, unable to make decent viewership, meaning it's time for him to put the fries in the bag. He's even contemplating this live on stream, saying he'll quit in a few months if things don't get better. It's all a bluff because of his pig-headedness. He can't accept defeat, even though there's 40 arrows in his back, and they all came from different sides of the political spectrum. I can't think of a single person who is willing to back this guy up anymore. It's really pathetic. Not even the most performative of leftists want to support him. And now he's even managed to piss off the clankers, as he recently beefed with an AI slop channel called Dark Brandon. He's waging war against a channel where an AI Jesus is educating people on geopolitics.
Hey there, folks. Hope you're doing well today.
Oh God, he's losing to AI channels now.
US politics could look like in the future, and we thought we'd do so checking in with our favorite rehabilitated pirate, Sticks and Hammer 666.
And yet, somehow, Xander Hall looks worse in this drama, as his initial coverage was clearly out of jealousy, as potential viewers would rather watch garbage churned out by some basement-dwelling loser in Mumbai.
Now, I've complained a lot lately that it feels as though there's a lot less push on my channel as of late, as we've seen a big flood of new left-wing news channels enter the scene as competition against what I do. Which is fair. Competition means you do less well, less easily in a niche. But what really hurts is to see the left embrace AI slop over real human left-wing people advocating for the same ideas as them.
How about you make good videos, dude? Your own audience thinks Dark Brandon is better than you. They're posting this shit in your Discord server, begging you to watch it.
But people are falling for it in my own community. My own fans are recommending me this guy's content to watch on stream as a source of information to talk about the news. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little salty that some of my subscribers are watching this AI slop channel instead of me. I'm gonna be fully transparent here. Like, the channel is in the worst place it's been ever. America is in the worst place it's been ever. The right is on top. And some of my own fans are watching this
True that.
as a substitute for real progressive content creators. That low-key pisses me off.
Dark Brandon would post a response to this, and they completely mogged Xander Hall somehow. They simply label him as a salty little loser and brag about stealing his viewers, as people would rather watch this garbage than whatever boring segment Xander Hall is putting out.
We are listening to our audience and hearing what they want to see and delivering on it. The algorithm is nothing more than your audience. And if your audience is choosing to watch our content instead of yours, there's a reason.
Xander Hall wasn't able to give any good rebuttals to
dude.
this, so he instead spent his response moping and reading a bunch of the hate comments he got. This didn't work, so he also did his tried and true formula of just labeling the creators as right-wing grifters. The sole reason being that they called him soy, which I guess is a word only chuds use.
And one thing that really puts me off about it is, you'll notice that they do the whole, like, lefty snowflake, salty leftist for their video. Doesn't this read a lot like a right-wing grift video a little bit?
Well, Xander Hall found a
Just
way.
A little bit. Like a right-wing grift video, maybe. Just a little.
I honestly don't know how much lower this guy can get besides beefing of literal lolcows like World of T-shirts or DSP. His content feels like watching a modern-day iDub stream, though since him and Lonnie split, there isn't a tattooed BPD whore there by his side. He's pretty much alone with no allies, and while I don't like the guy, I don't hate him either. His worst crimes are poorly handling drama and saying retarded shit on stream, while many of his enemies have been exposed for far worse. You got Vosh, who jerks off to children, Keffels, who scammed her fans out of $100 grand and promoted bathtub estrogen, Hassan, who shocks his dog and promotes terrorism, and Destiny, who's a sex pest and full-blown And again, with Xander Hall, it's that he's really bad with money. I said this sarcastically a year ago, and I'll say it again. Chat, I think it's time we resurrect Xander Hall. People didn't really like this take, but we gotta hype him up. We need the Xander Hall that was in those DMs of Cherry. The angry Xander Hall that's willing to put out the same energy towards some of these right-wing grifters. Imagine this guy going after Tectone or Nuxtaku. That's what I want to see. No more of this pussy shit where he slowly watches news footage for 5 hours.
Okay,
Obviously,
that'd
he's
be
not
a
gonna follow
fun
my
thing to
advice,
watch.
as he's stubborn to a T. But I'm a very optimistic person. At the end of the day, Xander Hall just wanted to shit on some right-wingers and make a bit of money, as he dreamed of settling down once he had his fun.
I finally rest and watch the sunrise on a grateful universe. The hardest choices require the strongest wills.
Once he completed his mission of destroying the alt-right pipeline, he didn't want to live a lavish lifestyle. Xander Hall wanted to settle down and start a quail farm, spending his days tending to his flock and gazing at the sunset while smoking out of his weed pen.
Right now, I'm actually saving up for a move up to, like, the Seattle area, up in Washington State, and I plan to rent a house in the backyard back there sometime end of this year, early next year, establish a quail coop, and make raising quail part of my political content. I'm gonna incorporate those two things. And
Oh,
it's
hell
gonna,
yeah.
And it's gonna
Of
happen.
course.
So if you want quail eggs, then
I
mean,
want
you can
quail
have them.
eggs.
How are your quail farm plans going, by the way? Well, right now I am still saving up to move into a proper house with a nice fenced backyard that can facilitate raising quail up until the end of the summer. But the channel is popping off right now, and ad revenue is gone.
Man, that's
so
just
it's
sad.
definitely going to help. But what really helps get us there is just people donating. So if you want to support the stream and you want to help us get to that point, then you can always support me by donating, subscribing, or gifting a sub on my website, xanderhall.com/live.
Xander Hall, listen, it's me, Boogie. I know things are tough for you right now with the channel losing viewers and subscribers. Believe me, I know. But I believe in you. I just hope one day you can actually start that quail farm and produce a ton of eggs. Just don't forget to give my fat ass some. And hey, if that doesn't work out, you can just join me and Keemstar on Lone Cow Live. Sammy will be there too, and Melissa's kidneys give out. We're always looking for some fresh meat over there. I mean, new talents. We're looking for locals. All right, buddy. Get well soon.
Ended with a Boogie 298 jump scare. Yeah, that was Rob Media's video on Xander Hall. Alright, let's see, what's next? Oh yeah. Yeah, Mugen had a video on the Crafton CEO who went too far down the AI rabbit hole. Hmm. Screw that. But yeah, let's go ahead and watch that video since I'm kind of want to watch a less depressing lolcow.
On November 30th, 2022, ChatGPT would release to the world. What would follow soon after are hordes of students who would finally figure out a way to get their homework done for free and with zero effort.
Well,
However,
until the
as time went by, many others would start to
AI detectives came along anyways.
rely on AI. Not just with small errands or things that help them become more productive at work, but also major life milestones, like love, relying on this AI chatbot to be their partner in life. And while I'm very happy for these people and can't wait for the wedding, there's a very big problem. And that's the fact that ChatGPT is far from perfect. In fact, it can hallucinate. One great recent example is someone asking it, hey, I want to wash my car, but the car wash is very, very close to my house. Should I walk there or drive there? The obvious answer is drive there because you want to wash your car. What does ChatGPT say? Walk to the car wash. To do what exactly? I don't know. Just walk. Trust me. This is not an isolated incident by any means. There have been countless studies delving into these hallucinations or instances of AI psychosis, which encourage the user into delusional thinking. And this has nothing to do with a particular demographic. Anyone can fall victim to this delusion, including the CEO of a multi-billion-dollar video game conglomerate. He would embrace the delusion so much offered to him by ChatGPT that he would start to ignore the legal counsel of the lawyers that work for him. He would make up a plan with ChatGPT to avoid having to pay $250 million. Yes, $250 million in a deal.
Oh yeah, it definitely does.
ChatGPT would fuel his delusions.
In fact, there's already studies saying that this, in fact, does cause cognitive decline. Man. World's cooked.
Telling him, yes, you can totally do this. The result? One of the most embarrassing lawsuits in video game history. It would turn out that every single thing that the CEO did was outlined clearly by ChatGPT in a step-by-step basis. He literally let it take control of his entire life. It was incredibly humiliating to both the CEO and his company, ruining the reputation they had so carefully built for so many years over a mistake that even an intern wouldn't make. I've been following this story closely ever since it began in the summer of 2025, and now that it's finally come to somewhat of a conclusion, we have to talk about it because it's truly unprecedented. So you already know the drill. Let's do this. The only thing more fun
he's a CEO, so that's kind of a given.
City is doing so in an anime-style open-world RPG game. More specifically, with the ability to do so on scooters, go-karts, luxury cars, sports cars, you name it. And the only place where you're able to do that is, of course, NTE. A game not just impressive in scale, but also impressive down to the most minute details. Whether it be NPC interactions, dynamic weather, or the fact that you can fully explore city buildings.
Wow.
You can choose to do so with full freedom, whether it be in first person or third person, either in solo or in multiplayer. There are endless things to do, and when the game launches on the 29th of April 2026, you'll be able to unlock an S-class character, Chiz, by simply leveling up. And my favorite part is the fact that there's no 50-50 mechanics on the gacha banner. You get the character you want, and that's it. So look, if that all sounds interesting to you, then make sure to get NTE today by clicking the link in the description or the pinned comment. Thank you so much to NTE for sponsoring this video. All right, so to really understand how this all began, we have to go all the way back to the year 2013, when Steam, the beloved games platform on PC, would release Early Access, an absolute turning point in game development. It would allow you to release an incomplete game, charge money for it, and use community feedback to improve it with the hopes of releasing
we all remember.
And while yes, this sounded great on paper, it was actually a program that was heavily criticized in the first few years after its release. For example, on March 20th, 2015,
I still remember the horror stories.
8 early access video games that were horrible messes.
Jim Sterling made a freaking career out of it.
Assuming that developers actually had an intention of completing them one day. However, some developers would release an early access game incomplete and would just abandon it or just stop working on it after people had paid money for it with the hopes of it releasing with full features one day. And while yes, for a while we did have to deal with a lot of early access slop, it really took some time for people to start to truly appreciate how amazing the early access program was for developers that needed it. This article from The Guardian uses the example of the game Kenshi. However, in this video, the amazing example of early access comes from the developer Unknown Worlds. Prior to Steam Early Access launching, they were mostly known for the game Natural Selection 2, a fast-paced multiplayer shooter that pits aliens against humans. Now, it wasn't mainstream by any means, it wasn't making millions of dollars, but it did have a community that appreciated it, and the developer had somewhat of a fan base because of it. Here's the deal though. This game had released around 2012, and it somewhat coincided with the release of Minecraft at the end of 2011. This was important because the director of Unknown Worlds, Charlie Cleveland, would note that in his opinion, Minecraft transformed the game industry and threw away all traditional challenge-oriented and progression-oriented games. He'd revealed that after the release of Natural Selection 2, the team felt exhausted, and it would prompt them to make a game inspired by Minecraft that involved them trying something completely new. So on December 2013, Unknown Worlds would announce an ocean-based game titled Subnautica, releasing concept art, just one image showing where the game would take place.
I should play that game eventually.
Was just a prototype. And Hugh Jeremy, the head of public relations at the studio, would literally say, "We just don't know what Subnautica is yet. We can't even point to specific genre. We just don't know." The only thing they knew was what was in the prototype. It involved designing, building, and crewing up submarines, and that it would also, of course, be in first person. But look, at the time, this was a very interesting announcement because this was a developer who had already made a game that was loved by a community who was hoping to tackle a very underutilized setting in gaming: the ocean. The water, right? Everything was above land in games, but this was open world under the water. It definitely piqued people's curiosity. And thankfully, people didn't really have to wait that long to see what this game was all about, because 1 year later, on December 2014, Subnautica would come out on Steam Early Access. And according to this article from Eurogamer, it would cost £15, a heavily discounted price for Early Access because today it costs €30 at full price. And even though it had come out in Early Access, this game was very well received. It was innovative, people loved where it was based, the gameplay was awesome, and you truly felt like you were getting value for your money. It very quickly became critically acclaimed. Overall, it would take the game around 3 years to go from early access to full release, launching on January 2018. And as you can see, by the incredible amount of positive reviews reaching overwhelmingly positive on Steam, this game did not in any way screw up its launch. If anything, it's one of the best examples in the entirety of the Steam library that show what early access can truly do. So it came as no surprise that barely 2 years after their full launch, they would have sold a total of over 5 million copies. An astounding number, especially for an indie developer. In fact, numbers like these are so rare to find that when they do happen, they start attracting a lot of attention. When you start making money and find success, people take notice, and that's exactly what happened here. Because Unknown Worlds had caught the attention of the gaming conglomerate Krafton. What is Krafton? Well, they have like over a dozen different studios and a dozen different games. Most notably, they are the company behind PUBG Battlegrounds. And they were also the founders of Striking Distance Studios, the studio behind the game The Callisto Protocol, which wasn't really received that well, but still was a AAA game, I guess. This is a Korean company that is worth over $1.9 billion. They saw how successful Subnautica was, and they wanted a piece of that success as soon as possible. How soon, you might ask? Well, as soon as the end of 2021, barely a year after Unknown Worlds had announced that they had sold over 5 million
This was before a lot of their
Krafton would
more
swoop
infamous
in
decisions
and acquire
came
the
to light.
entire studio with 100% ownership stake for a maximum of $750 million.
Oh, yeah, it's an EB.
But now you're probably wondering, what do you mean for a maximum? Like, how much did they actually pay? Well, essentially, they had paid $500 million for the entire studio, right? They own everything the studio had ever done and ever will make. That's $500 million. And on top of that, they also added an option in the contract of offering an additional $250 million in earnings, depending on the achievements of Unknown Worlds after the merger. Now, at the time, this achievement was still unknown to the public, but Krafton and Unknown Worlds knew exactly what it was going to be: Subnautica 2. But they didn't just buy Unknown Worlds for that. They knew that there was still going to be many more sales to come for Subnautica 1. Because as recently as May 2025, Subnautica would come out on mobile, reaching an entirely different platform with many more sales. And by February 2026, Subnautica had sold over 18.5 million units. I mean, God, in comparison, Expedition 33 sold 8 million. And this is a widely critically acclaimed game that had won so many game awards. So what I'm trying to tell you here is that 18.5 million units is incredible. So Krafton had already made quite a bit of money thanks to this already. As for the co-founders of the studio, it made sense as to why they accepted the crazy $500 million deal. On Steam alone, this game had made over $274 million in gross revenue. But after adjusted regional pricing, discounts, refunds, the cut Steam takes, which is 30%, and the VAT plus sales tax, they had really made like around maybe $80 million. So $500 million to buy the studio outright, plus a chance at getting $250 million in bonuses, that's more than 6 times than what Subnautica made on Steam alone in net revenue. So it seemed like this deal was genuinely mutually beneficial. Both sides benefited and knew what they were getting themselves into. Just
Emphasis
like how every
on
deal
seemingly.
should. And so as expected, around October 2024, Subnautica 2 Early Access would get announced, with a release date set for 2025. To Krafton, this was going to be their main money printing machine. This is what they placed all their bets on. If Subnautica 1 could sell over 18.5 million copies, then this was going to sell that and then some. And this wasn't based on delusion, it was based on facts. Steam allows you to wishlist games. That way your friends can see your wishlist, maybe gift them to you, but also more importantly, if you wishlist a game that hasn't come out yet, you get notified. As of today, by the time I upload this video, Subnautica 2 is the most wishlisted game on the entirety of the Steam platform. It was simply that highly anticipated. But as you already know, we're in 2026. This game was meant to come out in 2025. So what happened? Well, it turned out that Krafton had no intention of honoring their $250 million bonus deal. And one day, in the summer of 2025,
a CEO being greedy?
Wake up to a random email telling them that actually their services are no longer needed because they're fired. On the 2nd of July, 2025, Krafton would put out a press release that came out of nowhere, saying Krafton announces gaming industry veteran Steve Paputzis as new CEO of Unknown Worlds, specifying Paputzis replaces the previous leadership team, Ted Gill, Charlie Cleveland, and Max McGuire, effective immediately. These are the 3 co-founders of Unknown Worlds. Krafton would then specify that they sought to keep them on, right? They tried their best to keep them, but that they wished them the best on their next endeavors. The CEO of Krafton, C.H. Kim, would then say, "There is nothing more important than the gamer experience. Given the anticipation around Subnautica 2, we owe our players nothing less than the best possible game as soon as possible. And so, just like that, the game director, the technical director, and the CEO of Unknown Worlds were out and replaced by one person who, as far as we knew, had nothing to do with the studio. Additionally, this press release, as noted by Kotaku at the time, felt somewhat passive-aggressive. One paragraph in this press release that we didn't read was, as part of its oversight, Krafton is committed to achieving regular milestones to assess progress across its creative studios. These reviews, based on clearly defined metrics and targets, will help ensure that games meet both creative and quality standards. This process is essential to delivering the right game at the right time. Unknown Worlds' new leadership fully supports this process and is committed to meeting player expectations. So it really made it seem like these three co-founders were not doing a good job. Like they screwed up and just couldn't make the game in time, not respecting the company's milestones. But by now, it was safe to say that if you were looking forward to the game releasing anytime soon, you probably weren't feeling too good knowing that the co-founders, the leaders of the studio, were let go so abruptly. This right here was a post made on the r/PC Gaming subreddit, now deleted, urging everyone to boycott the game's release, not buying it because of this. Seeing that the fan base was absolutely on fire and didn't even know what to believe anymore, Unknown Worlds would release their own statement a day later after all the firing, on July 3rd, 2025. This statement would re-emphasize that they're still confident with Subnautica 2, that they're fully supporting the new CEO that just arrived, and that this game that the team has been working on has not changed at all. The studio still includes the veterans that made Subnautica 1, and their commitment to this open development of early access Subnautica 2 has not changed. They'd end this by saying, "Nothing has changed with how the game is structured. It will remain a single-player experience with optional cooperative multiplayer. No subscriptions, no loot boxes, no battle pass, no microtransactions." So look, this was nice and all, but at the end of the day, Unknown Worlds is 100% owned by Krafton. This statement was most definitely approved by Krafton, if not written by them. So it didn't really do much to calm down the community. There were still theories floating around everywhere. But then, 2 days later, the user Flera, who was actually Charlie Cleveland, the fired game director of Subnautica 1 and 2, would make a Reddit post on the subreddit r/Subnautica. In it, he would reminisce about his journey with game development, how it started more than 25 years ago, how it all started with him making a Half-Life mod called Natural Selection 1. He would talk about his journey with the studio, how the community helped shape Subnautica 1, and how even with all this, they also failed making one game previously called Moonbreaker, and how he and the team learned from it. What's most interesting in all this statement, though, was what would come at the end. So you can see why, for Max, Ted, myself, the Unknown Worlds team, and for our community, the events of this week have been quite a shock. We know that the game is ready for early access release, and we know you're ready to play it. And while we thought that this was going to be our decision to make, at least for now, that decision is in Krafton's hands. After all these years, to find that I'm no longer able to work at the company I started stings. He would end this with a sentence saying, "And I also want you to know that this is not where the story ends." So barely a week into him being fired,
foreshadowing
things
is
were
a
starting to
lyric
get
device.
very interesting and messy. Krafton, with their passive-aggressive messaging, were indicating that this was actually their fault for having been fired, that the game's milestones were not met, that it was pretty much behind schedule. But here, you had the game director himself and one of the co-founders say, actually, the game was ready. It was meant to come out on early access soon. So already, both sides of the story were so different. 4 days later, on July 9th, Bloomberg would release a bombshell of an article titled, "Krafton Delays Subnautica 2 Game Ahead of $250 million Payout." Now, Krafton would specify to Bloomberg this decision was not influenced by any contractual or financial considerations. But Bloomberg would specify
Oh,
the
that's a
$250
fucking
million
lie.
bonus was due to kick in if Unknown Worlds hit certain revenue targets by the end of 2025, according to the purchase agreement, which was reviewed by Bloomberg. By delaying Subnautica 2 into next year, the company is unlikely to hit those targets, and therefore the employees may not be eligible for a payout, the people said. Unknown Worlds leadership planned to share the additional money with all of the studio's employees, which number around 100. Staff who were at the company at the time of the acquisition were told they were eligible for bonuses ranging from hundreds of thousands to 7 figures, the people said. But Krafton would go further. They would start straight up attacking these founders, saying that 90% of the $250 million payout was allocated to those 3 co-founders. So they were pretty much revealing to everyone that the majority of this money was going to 3 people, that they weren't sharing it with the rest of the studio. Additionally, Krafton accused the executives of abandoning their responsibilities in order to work on other projects, including a film, leading to delays for the game. Their official statement would say, "We are deeply disappointed by the former leadership's conduct, and above all, we feel a profound betrayal by their failure to honor the trust placed in them by our fans." And during this very tumultuous week, the new CEO of Unknown Worlds would take questions from employees during a town hall. Someone would ask, "Did you guys delay this game to not pay out the bonus?" To which he would say, "It's a good question, and I would appreciate patience on this particular topic." He would then double down on the fact that they really want this game to release in an amazing state, that they take the game very seriously, which is why it was delayed. So look, the more we learned about what was going on behind the scenes, and the more Krafton released statements about this whole mess, it really was starting to feel like the bonus did have something to do with this. At the end of the day, Krafton wasn't the studio behind Subnautica 1. The co-founders were though, and their story was so different from Krafton that it caused a lot of concern. By now, people really didn't know what the hell to believe. They were just sad that this game seemed like it was never going to come out. And speaking on the game coming out, on the same day the Bloomberg article would come out, Unknown Worlds would make a statement on their website saying, "An update on Subnautica 2 Early Access." Here they would reiterate that they got feedback for Subnautica 2 and that it simply wasn't ready to come out in 2025 as it was already planned. And so the new date for the early access release of the game was going to be in 2026, effectively delaying it by a year. In parallel, they would also showcase gameplay of the game, saying that this was their way of showcasing their confidence with how the game was coming along. But as people were barely starting to process the fact that the game was going to be delayed by a year, one day later, on July 10th, 2025, Charlie Cleveland, the ex-game director of Subnautica 2, would, on his own website, release a blog titled Lawsuit. In it, he would say, "Hello everyone. It continues to be an explosive and surreal time for the Subnautica team and community. None of this is what we wanted, but we truly appreciate the amazing support we've gotten from everyone and means a lot to us, especially now. As I wrote last week," he's referring to the Reddit thread, "we know in our souls that the game is ready for early access. That's just how we roll, and we'd like nothing more than for you to play it. Game devs live for this, but it's not currently under our control. We've now filed a lawsuit against Krafton. The details should eventually become, at least mostly, public. You all deserve the full story." Suing a multi-billion-dollar company in a painful, public, and possibly protracted way was certainly not on my bucket list, but this needs to be made right. Subnautica has been
Pretty
my
sure it's
life's
on no
work,
one's
and I
bucket
would
list,
never
but
willingly abandon it or the amazing team that has poured
here we
their hearts
are.
into it. As for the earnout, the idea that Max, Ted, and I wanted to keep it all for ourselves is totally untrue. I'm in this industry because I love it, not for the riches. Historically, we've always shared our profits with the team and did the same when we sold the studio. You can be damn sure we'll continue with the earnout/bonus as well. They deserve it for all their incredible work trying to get this game into your hands. Stay tuned. Signed, Charlie. So I just like to point out something, right? This all happened in like barely 8 days. All right, they got fired on July 2nd, and this is happening on July 10th. As a Subnautica fan, you were waking up every single day with like a slap to the face. What the hell's happening? So this blog post re-emphasized the game was ready. It was meant to release. Krafton stopped us. And on top of that, the final paragraph here was a dig to the statement Krafton made about the co-founders, about the fact that they were intending to keep 90% of the bonus between themselves. Things were getting nasty very quickly. And so 6 days would pass, and Charlie would again make a statement, this time on Twitter, saying, "Hello everyone. The saga continues. In my previous post, I mentioned that there would be more to come. Well, today you can finally read the official complaint the original Unknown World shareholders have filed against Krafton. It's unfortunate we are here in this situation, but we're doing everything we can to make things right for everyone. Openness and transparency is my thing, so we're glad to bring this truth to light." It was official. The lawsuit was moving forward, and we had access to the complete complaint to see exactly what the problem was. The complaint itself was around 58 pages. It was uploaded on Scribd, I guess that's how you call the website, and it would be viewed by almost 100,000 people. So here, Charlie and the other two co-founders accused Krafton of deliberately sabotaging and delaying the game's release to avoid paying out the $250 million that was agreed upon during the acquisition of their studio. One of the concluding paragraphs here is really interesting. It would say, "In short, Krafton flagrantly breached both the letter and the spirit of the promises at the very core of its agreement to purchase Unknown Worlds. It promised to leave creative and operational control in the hands of the founders. Promise broken. It promised to consult with the founders before taking any action that could harm the earnout. Promise broken. It promised not to take any action with the primary business purpose of frustrating the earnout. Promise broken. And it promised not to terminate the founders without cause. Promise broken. Why? Because Krafton knew that allowing the founders to launch Subnautica 2 as planned would generate enormous commercial success and require Krafton to pay the $250 million earnout. By firing the founders and delaying the launch, Krafton can capture, what's left of, the game's commercial success without paying the Unknown Worlds team a penny of the earnout. So as you can see, this accusation was not liked at all, and it was aired out to the public. Now everyone knew what was actually going on here. This went against the entire spirit of the acquisition, and it seemed like Krafton was playing very dirty. At the same time, during all this, someone would leak some internal slides from Krafton. It dated back to May 2025. And we can see Krafton's logic to delaying the entire game's release due to, like, barely a couple of things that were changed. 2 biomes were removed. A small amount of creatures were not there. Some equipment was reduced. A custom game mode was not there. And there was 1 narrative that was delayed. Due to these things, Krafton argued that this entire game needs to be delayed 1 year. Even though it was meant to release in early access. Even though Subnautica 1, when it first released in early access, barely had any of this. It had like maybe 1/10 of all the features. This gave even more ground to the argument that the founders were trying to make. When these slides leaked, Krafton would immediately make a response, saying, "The document that has been circulating on social media and reported by various outlets is indeed part of an internal milestone review conducted as part of Subnautica 2. Milestone reviews are conducted regularly in collaboration with Krafton's creative studios across all projects. These reviews help assess development progress, define clear objectives, and ensure that each project aligns with Krafton's standards in both creativity and quality. This process is central to Krafton's commitment to delivering polished, high-quality games at the right time." Thing is, though, part of the deal of acquiring Unknown Worlds is that they wouldn't interfere. This was not a decision that was up to them to make. And what went against this narrative was the fact that in the lawsuit made by the co-founders, you'd see a section saying, one of Krafton's El Segundo publishing employees reported to Gil, who was the CEO at the time, one of the co-founders, that Krafton headquarters told all Krafton teams to stop all creative tasks related to Subnautica 2. The employee supervisor even demanded that he and his team cease communication with Unknown Worlds altogether. So they went against every aspect of the acquisition, lied, and made the co-founders look bad as if they weren't working, and on top of that were isolating the studio from being able to make progress. This is what was at stake here. And so the next step in all this would come almost a month later. On August 12th, 2025, Krafton would counter the lawsuit, arguing that actually the only people who broke this agreement were the co-founders. In this almost 102-page document, in which Krafton gets questioned a lot of questions and they answer, they would also make their case as to what exactly happened from their point of view. And they'd say, things fully veered off course by the spring of 2025. Unknown Worlds received extensive feedback from Krafton's internal publishing teams, which indicated that Subnautica 2 was not ready for release. Krafton's CEO warned the key employees that a premature early access release of a highly anticipated sequel like Subnautica could cause irreversible harm to the entire IP franchise, pointing to the sequel to Kerbal Space Program as a prime example. But as the end of the earnout period drew nearer, the game was still
something similar to this happened with
Indeed. As late as March of 2025, only 2 months before the key employees claimed the game was ready for the first early access release, the development lead for Subnautica 2 at Unknown Worlds noted that the first early access and second early access, planned for December 2025, would only be about 12% of our intended 1.0 scope, and joked that at that rate, we would be in development for 30 years. The key employees became desperate. If development of Subnautica 2 continued at its current pace, the key employees would miss out on 4 quarters of consecutive revenue they needed to maximize their earnout, which expired in June 2026. So see, this was new info. Bloomberg reported that they needed to make all this money by 2025. No, the deadline was actually June 2026. That was the deadline for making the most amount of money possible to qualify for that bonus. The lawsuit would continue, cognizant of this and faced with a choice between their own monetary interests and the best interests of Unknown Worlds and the Subnautica franchise. The key employees insisted on moving forward with a premature early access launch of Subnautica 2. Krafton would then argue that they were so worried about the game flopping, that they were so worried about the game's reputation and disappointing fans, that they had no choice but to get rid of them and get things back on track. But the accusations wouldn't just end here. In Krafton's counter, they'd argue that when they told the co-founders that they were going to get fired, the co-founders said, well, hey, we'll just release it on our own. Fuck you. So they downloaded countless files related to the game and left with them. Krafton would claim that they stole the blueprint for Subnautica. Here's what they exactly said. The key employees refused, threatened to self-publish Subnautica 2, and, anticipating their termination, stole hundreds of thousands of Unknown Worlds and Krafton confidential documents before they were fired, presumably in furtherance of their plan to unilaterally self-publish Subnautica 2 and capitalize on the earnout. This was complete character assassination of these co-founders, right? Making them seem like they're money-hungry goblins that were willing to set everything on fire just to get that payout. So again, even though this was brought to court, we were faced with two very different stories. But unfortunately for anyone keeping up with this, for anyone wanting to see where this goes, they would have to wait some months before hearing back on what was going on, because this was heading to trial. Like, that's it. This was going to court. And so it wouldn't be until November 6th, 2025, that we saw an update to this, and it would be during a pre-trial brief. This typically happens after the discovery phase. So both sides had months to get documents, get proof, get anything to back up their claims. And what we would find here, I mean, objectively speaking, it didn't really make Krafton look any better. In fact, it made them look worse. This is actually the first time we see mention of ChatGPT during this whole debacle. But before we get to this, we have to understand just how crazy the things that were found about the CEO of Krafton truly were. PC Gamer summed things up nicely. In the pretrial brief, the co-founders would allege that Changham Kim, the CEO of Krafton, was desperate to avoid paying them the bonuses required by their acquisition contract because of professional embarrassment that would result from the perception that he overpaid for the studio. Interestingly enough, the co-founders would also say that Krafton was fully aware of what was happening at the studio and even expressed
adhere to a payout is
on top
any
of that,
worse
when it came
than
to the claim that
not
one of the
being able to
co-founders
pay your
abandoned
staff.
development to focus on making a movie, the filing also claims
asshole.
that Krafton actually encouraged it. They would then go on to say, already concerned that Krafton had paid too much to acquire Unknown Worlds, Kim feared that making any earnout payment to founders would earn him a reputation as a pushover and endanger his position as CEO. Desperate to avoid such a professional embarrassment, Kim obsessed over finding a way to avoid Krafton's obligation to pay the earnout. The pre-brief claims Krafton head of corporate development Maria Park told Kim that Krafton would likely have to pay the earnout if sales targets were achieved, even if the studio heads were dismissed with cause. At that point, the CEO turned to artificial intelligence to help him brainstorm ways to avoid paying the earnout, the filing claims. ChatGPT likewise advised that it would be difficult to cancel the earnout. This is right here in the pretrial brief, and there will be a footnote in the page saying Krafton did not produce the ChatGPT conversations and, when pressed, confirmed that they no longer exist. God, I wish we had them. Dude, someone contact OpenAI, please. Of course, a company representative would just say no
Fucking hope we
when
recover
asked if
them.
the claim was accurate, saying that this is nothing more than a distraction. But what's crazy here is that they're also alleging that the CEO had created something called Project X, an internal company task force, all with the purpose of not allowing the co-founders to get that bonus. We would find out later that Project X and everything involving it was actually ChatGPT's idea. Like, no, at this point, I refuse to believe this guy earned his position. This has to be nepotism. How do you end up as CEO thinking that something like Project X is a good idea? Sounds like something that Elon Musk would do. This pretrial brief, also through discovery, would get the Slack messages between CH Kim, the CEO, and Richard Yoon, the CFO of Krafton. Here we can see a conversation on the 27th of June, 2025, a few days before the firing. Richard Yoon would be saying, I had a phone call a little while ago. This time, the co-founders, are asking for $75 million for themselves and $40 million for the team members. They say they won't do it unless we negotiate the packages of the teams together. The bucket for the team members we are thinking of at present is $10 million. It might be easier to just take over, ... To which CH Kim, the CEO, would say, set a date and send a letter if you need to send it in advance. So this is when he would decide, all right, we're going to fire them and take over the studio. The last piece of the puzzle here that really paints the full clear picture is that Kim's contract as Krafton CEO was going to be up for renewal in 2026, which is why this whole thing was personal for him. He understood too late that this deal was actually not really good for him and his company, and he didn't want to lose his job. On May 2025, he even tried to gaslight Charlie Cleveland, the game director, telling him that paying the
thinks he
earnout
didn't
would cause
deserve
the
it to
value of the
begin with.
studio to drop significantly, and that he, as the person responsible for the investment, would have to take responsibility. Just outright embarrassing. And speaking of embarrassing, it gets worse. It gets humiliating. A few days later, on November 19th, 2025, Chang-Hen Kim, CEO of Krafton, would get questioned during a testimony for the trial. Here, he would admit, yes, he consulted with ChatGPT. It was actually his main legal advisor. He would say this even though a few days beforehand,
What a
during
shock!
the pre-trial brief, a Krafton spokesperson would say, this didn't happen, it's just misinfo, you're trying to distract us from the main issue of the lawsuit. Here's what the CEO said. I started discussing this matter with various teams within the company to figure out what we could do. So I talked to the legal team, the finance team, and the corporate team, and the PR, all these various teams, and I
so
also
well
actually
with
searched
Mama
on
Max.
ChatGPT to get faster answers to figure out what kind of rights we have. When asked why he would consult with ChatGPT on a matter like this, Kim said, I think, just like everyone else, I'm using ChatGPT to get faster answers or responses, just like Google search. The article from PC Gamer would say, during cross-examination, lawyers for the former Unknown Worlds principals also point out that in a June 2 message sent to Krafton head of corporate development Maria Park, Kim included a ChatGPT link and subsequently referenced the chatbot's advice directly. He'd say, now, ChatGPT is starting to answer that it is difficult to cancel the earnout. If so, this is a contract under which we can only be dragged around. The lawyers also point out that while that particular ChatGPT conversation was subsequently deleted, as was one about a no-deal scenario with the studio, others from around the same time still exist. On redirect, Kim said he deleted those queries because what I learned is that, from OpenAI, is that if you use certain important information concerning your company, then that type of information can be used by OpenAI for learning purposes. What a great excuse, dude. And you know what? The dog ate my homework yesterday too. The article will continue, it's all rather messy. Kim, who acknowledged making dozens of ChatGPT inquiries every day regarding general business at Krafton, said he was merely using it to research his options,
an AI first
as he would with
company,
any other
people.
search engine. But with hundreds of millions of dollars at stake, not to mention the future of one of Krafton's potentially most lucrative games, I would think that shareholders would expect more from their CEO than just kicking it around with a chatbot. And yeah, I mean, that's totally right. Like, what are you doing as a CEO? What is the leverage of having you around if you're just going to ask a chatbot about everything you're doing? I mean, at this point, why not just replace him with a premium subscription to ChatGPT, or maybe even better, Claude, an actual AI that works? And as the article point out, the fact that barely a few days beforehand, the company denied the CEO ever using ChatGPT, and now him admitting this doesn't look good for the case at all on their side. So here we were at the end of 2025, and the most wishlisted game on Steam was held hostage due to a lawsuit. And make no mistake, this whole thing had happened because the CEO of Krafton had made a bad deal. He signed off on it, and now he wanted to run away using ChatGPT as his mentor. Fans were losing hope that they were ever going to see this game, and things were not looking good for Krafton at the same time. Lawsuits like this are typically very messy and take years to be done. So it came as a shock, I think, to everyone when only a few months later, we would get the opinion of the Vice Chancellor presiding over this case. And to say that it would be humiliating for Krafton and its CEO would be an understatement. On March 16th, 2026, the Vice Chancellor overseeing this case in the state of Delaware would publish a 91-page opinion piece in which we can see the verdict outlined. TLDR,
Yo, posted
must
cringe.
return control to Subnautica 2 Studios CEO. However, when it came to Cleveland and McGuire, the Chancellor would argue, Jill is reinstated as CEO of Unknown Worlds with full operational authority over the studio. Because restoring him vindicates the seller's operational rights, I declined to return Cleveland and McGuire to the peripheral roles they occupied before their terminations. Gil, with his authority restored, may proceed with the early access release of Subnautica 2 when he deems it appropriate. So what this means is, for now, bringing back Ted Gill as CEO is satisfactory enough for the founders to regain full control of the studio, which is what they wanted. When it comes to the other two co-founders, their roles weren't that impactful to begin with. Having Ted Gill come back as the CEO, as the guy who's heading the entire studio's decision-making processes, is enough to give them back full control and not allow Krafton to decide things for the studio anymore. And on top of this, the Vice Chancellor would specify, to ensure the specific performance remedy is not illusory, the base earnout period is equitably extended by the duration of Gill's ouster. So that means for the entire time that Gill wasn't CEO, the clock wasn't ticking on the deadline for the bonus. which means he gets extra time to earn that payout. The sentence afterwards is also very important to note. It says, whether Crafton's actions wrongfully impaired the earnout and whether any resulting money damages are owed are reserved for the second phase of this litigation. So this lawsuit was not over. It's just that for now it was decided that yes, the co-founders need to get back control of the studio, it's in their right. But the question of whether Crafton deliberately wanted to sabotage the payout and whether the co-founders are owed additional money for the sabotage are reserved for the second phase of this litigation that will eventually happen. So this is far from over. This opinion piece would also talk about Project X, in which we'd understand more details about it, saying, at ChatGPT's suggestion, Kim formed an internal task force dubbed Project X. The task force mandate was to either negotiate a deal on the earnout or execute a takeover of Unknown Worlds. They looked to buy time. Kim would seek ChatGPT's counsel on how to proceed if Crafton failed to reach a deal with Unknown Worlds on the earnout. This is when the AI chatbot would come up with a response strategy to a no-deal scenario, which Kim would share with Yoon, the CFO. Here we'd see multiple steps outlined by ChatGPT, with step A being preemptive framing. Repeat that protecting quality and fan trust is the highest priority. Undermine the large corporation versus indie framing. Which is exactly what he did, by the way. B. Securing control points. Lock down Steam and console publishing rights and access rights over code/build pipeline through both legal and technical aspects. For the earnout freeze, keep room for negotiations through provisions stating immediate removal if specific development results are achieved. The Vice Chancellor would then say, over the next month, Crafton followed most of ChatGPT's recommendations. And that's what we saw earlier in the video. That's exactly what they did with their statements, saying, guys, we don't think the game is ready, we care about the fans, etc., etc. So look, this wasn't like an exaggeration, this wasn't clickbait in any way. Every single thing that happened after Kim had fired the co-founders was literally just him following what ChatGPT had told him. A CEO of a $1.9 billion company seeking advice from an AI chatbot in order to not pay $250 million that was part of a deal he signed off on. I swear to God, you cannot make this shit up. But here's the thing, if you think that this is where things ended, then you're horribly wrong. A day later, the temporary CEO, Steve Papoutsias, that now had to leave because Ted Gill was going to be reinstated, would share a message with the Subnautica 2 team. He'd thank everyone for the incredibly hard work, and he would announce that they had passed Crafton's milestone review just last week. Now they're ready to release in early access to the public. They were targeting May, and this information was leaked exclusively to IGN. This meant that from this point onwards, the game was set to release barely 2 months after the founder CEO was reinstated. Now this caused a big problem. The CEO who had barely just came back now was facing a new issue. Why the hell would you announce the release date of the game like this? He would again call up his lawyers and file a complaint against Crafton, saying this announcement was potentially damaging the game and sowing additional confusion among the Subnautica community. Crafton self-servingly announced the launch without any regard to its impact on the game, the team, or the community, let alone this court's opinion. Announcing the release of a game is momentous, and it is typically accompanied by significant marketing activity, fanfare, and community coordination. That entire process was supposed to be driven by Mr. Gill. However, in defiance of the court's opinion, Crafton has now taken that away, further damaging the game and sowing additional confusion among the Subnautica community. They were pretty much alleging that Crafton had intentionally leaked this to sabotage the game further, as a middle finger for losing the lawsuit. A month later, though, I swear this is a roller coaster, this complaint would be withdrawn. The lawyer of the CEO would ask the judge to toss the motion. I guess by that point, the founders just wanted the game to release in one piece. They were prioritizing the community and wanted to stop all these legal headaches. However, a day later, after withdrawing the motion on April 23rd, the publication game developer would reach out to the lawyers of the 3 co-founders for comment. They'd say that despite the unknowns, the future of Crafton and Unknown Worlds relationship will be a continued challenge. In quotes, it's going to be extremely hard to repair the relationship between Unknown Worlds and Crafton, especially after such a humiliating court defeat. And this assumes that either party is interested in mending fences. So yeah, the lawsuit was done, the CEO was reinstated, it seemed like justice was handed, but Crafton still owned the studio, 100% of it. They still had to work together, and it was safe to say that this trust was gone permanently. I mean, come on, what was this? It was a failed hostile takeover. But hey, a week later, on April 30th, 2026, Subnautica 2's early access cinematic trailer would finally come out. And yeah, Listen, regardless of everything, the hype is still there. Almost 2 million views, 30th trending for gaming, and an incredible like to dislike ratio. I mean, 125,000 likes. That's crazy. Looks like these executives are going to earn their bonus whether Crafton likes it or not. We would also find out that the game would finally be releasing on May 14th, 2026. In the end though, Crafton had spent such a long time crafting its image. After the incredible success of PUBG, they sought to acquire more studios, grow their business, and truly push the idea that they cared about both their
sorry to hear about your dog.
and the games that they produce. With something like this, they had essentially tainted their reputation into being just another EA game, just another corporation obsessed with money that's willing to screw you over if it meant saving on giving you what's rightfully yours. For that, they can thank their wonderful CEO who decided to employ ChatGPT as his messiah, not even assistant, his messiah, and who'll make it very hard for the future CEO to make any deal with any company, because now they'll think, wait, are you just going to pull a Subnautica on me? And honestly, at this point, what's stopping them if the next CEO also uses ChatGPT? Guys, if there's a lesson to take from this, it's that everything in this world is good in moderation. You want to use AI to speed things up? Go ahead, dude, but giving it control over your life, allowing it to feed your own delusions, and refusing to use your critical thinking skills will only lead to catastrophe. This is what happened to the CEO of Crafton, and this is what will happen to anyone who places so much trust in an AI chat.
Not even
Thank you so much
once.
for watching until the end. I really appreciate it. If you want to see exclusive content, like a couple of videos every month from me, as well as awesome art, then definitely check out stack.com. It's like Patreon, but better. And I'll see you in the next video, whenever that is. I love you so much. Platonically. Mwah.
So yeah, that was Eugen's video on the infamous Subnautica 2 debacle. What a ride. Okay. Alright. See what else you can. Yeah, I think I'll just go ahead and listen to music during the rest of this. Actually, nah. Oh. Actually, yeah. Fine. Don't have a... Alright. Don't really have that much time to react to one more thing, but so... Go ahead and get to that. Alright. Oh, Hello Kitty. And thanks. Alright. There's some stuff. Ah, damn, wrong layer. Okay, when I do that. They're actually spots, but thanks. No worries. Dang. If it happens. I'm designing a new form for a character I adopted a while back. I have a lot of tar characters, so giving this one a tar form. Oh, thank you. Ah, now it's forgetting something. I honestly think face is a little bit over designed, but that's just me. And dang it. There's a car that's back with it. Yeah, no one noticed. But yeah, this is Mallow. They were based off of the S'more Cupcake. From what I can tell. Alright, let's see. Gotta make the palette now. Which is pretty easy to do. Alrighty. Actually, maybe I should add the gradient for the background. Yeah, that one works. Thank you. I forgot to save this. Put it down real quick. Alrighty. So with that, I'm gonna go ahead and call it a stream here. I got something done, so that's good. Alrighty, you have a good night too. I'd like to thank everyone for coming tonight, and I will see you all next time. Take care, everyone.